Stuart.
Yep.
Okay. I'm inviting you.
I was in practice and I didn't get it.
Look, if we're in the lobby, you can see that your spy wins and sniper wins are almost 10 times mine on both counts. Literally a different order of magnitude, almost exactly.
Perfect.
All right, here we go. All right, stream should know that I basically can't. I can talk a little bit. I'm practicing trying to talk, but I cannot read chat at the same time I'm talking, at the same time I'm streaming. So, yeah.
Gentle warm up.
Okay. Gentle with you, balcony, for sure. All right. He is very good, and so I need to play this a little conservatively here. And I don't have the skills, I don't have the knowledge about how the conversation flow goes. Now, the good news is that I've totally screwed up balcony for him um, with various attempts at fixes, so he's not as good on it as he used to be. He kind of went back. Okay. Let's see. Is he going to pick up the briefcase? I kind of was slightly suspecting Bondo, but I don't think he would briefcase on this map. Maybe he would. Maybe he wouldn't because he would. Ooh, standing right next to him. That's a little suspicious. Alright. Okay, so Snaps just checked his watch, so we'll check for the green time ad here in a second.
You're in the red.
Oh. Okay, it's going to be over. I'm going to shoot somebody. It's going to be over in a second, and the question is, well, yeah. I'm sitting there mumbling like how it's going to be over in a second. Totally didn't suspect you at all.
Shoot.
And in the red.
Okay, what did I miss?
So I was pretty sloppy that round with some of my animations.
Yeah.
I took a drink at a really bad time, and I also exited conversation when my arms were basically folded.
Right.
The problem with, I think maybe players like Casey would disagree with me on this, but I feel like one of the things that you get better at when you play a lot is learning how to look at loads of different really random things all at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
And those different things may all fall under one umbrella, like Casey would say, they are sort of behavioral, for example.
Right.
And that would constitute, looking at conversations and looking at like taking drinks and. But I don't know. That was a pretty nice round for me. I missed a couple of the greens that would have finished my seduction a bit faster, but my seduction target left conversation twice, so I got kind of a free pass on not having to move very much.
Right, and that's why he got a highlight. Because I thought he was being a little bit active, but I realized when the banana bread went off and it had been enough time, I realized that it was over within 10 seconds. I just couldn't decide who to shoot, and I would have shot the wrong person anyway.
Right, yeah. One of the things that I have found with my current play on balcony, one of the weaknesses that I still have as a sniper is if someone doesn't move, they get away without a highlight for a long time, and so I convince myself into taking someone else as a top suspect.
Yeah, totally. And so do you think so? I know I mentioned on my stream while we were playing that that you're a little bit nerfed on this map relative to your previous unbeatable skill level, just because I've screwed it up for you. But do you feel like somebody standing there should get a highlight at this point because it's such a strong strategy, or what?
I now try and do that. If I notice that someone has not left the conversation after the whole first minute, for example,
right, then
I will typically have low lighted roughly half the guests by that time anyway. So I will tend to just highlight everyone who remains.
And those early lowlights come from pathing stuff, or just behavioral things, or what?
Those still come from pathing stuff. Although it's not as powerful as it used to be. There has been some recovery since the initial change. So most
just in terms of your learning, right? Because I mean, the pathing really hasn't changed that much itself.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's not. It comes from different parts of the pathing than it used to. It's not so much about how they enter the conversation circle exactly. There's a lot more of the whole. Probably the best way to describe it is taking unnecessary turns. So, for example, one of the examples would be taking 90-degree turns into conversation, which is just like a spy would never turn around, walk towards the center, and then 90-degree to go around the side. They will always take a 45-degree path away from the window, and things like that.
Yeah, hopefully those things. Hopefully those things will be smoothed out when I get the path smoothing in and redo the pathing system.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting when pathing changes because it's a lot of what I do at the moment, especially on this map. The other thing that's changed a lot is the non-linearity that exists with players stealing each other's spots. There are a number of different scenarios in which you can deduce that the two players involved must be AI. So, for example, when AI get their spot stolen ahead of time, both players are AI because the person who turns around and aborts knows that the second player is going to get to that spot before they arrive there, which they can't know if it's the spy.
Right. That
so
should be better than it used to be because the time at which they reserve a spot in the circle is very late now compared, but it still sounds like it's a detectable difference.
Well, that's like I say, that's the difference between immediately after the change, where I was looking at this and just, I was like, I can't see at all what these players are doing. Like, why are these NPCs turning around? Why are they aborting on things? But now I've got good enough at looking for those little things that I can accept and understand that it's because the second one is an NPC or not.
Right.
Same with the briefcase. The briefcase misfires cause the NPCs to walk very oddly. If they plan on going to the briefcase and then someone else picks it up, they will sort of dance on the spot because they're reparking into conversation, and it's sort of recognizable after enough time. So it's still pathing stuff, but different.
Right, and these are all anti-tells, right? These all get low lights for people.
Yes, yeah, I do. They're the only things that I will really highlight for pathing on this map are like bad collisions or very wide paths into conversation,
right? Without
justification,
right?
So those are the things to avoid.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I wonder how the lowlights should come in frequency-wise after the pathing is replaced. Like, what? In other words, there's a lot of low-hanging lowlights right now, just due to pathing bugs and misfeatures and just crufty code. And I'm wondering, like, so you're saying after a minute or so, you've got a lot of people low lit, and then you can start to look for highlights from behavioral stuff and other lowlights. I wonder if there should be none of those low lights available in the first minute, or just, yeah, I wonder how that should spread out, how those lowlights from pathing. I mean, I think that lowlights from pathing are not a terrible thing when it's not something that's what's the way to put it? When it's not, well, first off, obviously it has to be emulatable by the spy, so it could just be uncommon. But also, I want it to not be like just cruft in there. I want it to be at a more behavioral level.
Right. I think that I think that there are some things like the collision handling. I think there should never. I think you should make that so that it is something the spy can emulate easily. At the moment, I think that's basically impossible to reliably emulate collisions.
It's just way too spammy.
And I think that's one of the biggest pathing weaknesses at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the pirouettes and the craziness of collisions got worse because of the fact that they were trying to avoid collisions more in some sense now. And I'm hoping that, I mean, at a party, if you watch people, like, they just sidestep each other. They just slip by. They'll turn a little bit, whatever. And that just needs to be like, it just needs to dodge and partly clip, probably.
Right. So I think that kind of stuff should sort of be eliminated if possible.
Yep.
I think things with choosing paths are actually like a nice elite level thing. So for example, that whole taking a 90-degree turn into conversation, it's a little difficult to emulate perhaps because you have to align the camera very well for it to be a true 90-degree turn, which I think is a little bit of a problem. There maybe needs to be a little bit of a dead zone in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, it does snap to 8 cardinal directions, but it needs to be, I think, easier to be less camera relative at the time of those turns. And then I agree with you. Like, if you can make, I think the pure 90-degree turns look a little weird, and so it'd be nice to smooth those out a little bit. But yeah, I definitely think that there's a micro aspect to that that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and the other reason I think that's really interesting is because it's something that would be completely irrelevant at low levels. Like, there's no way people will be watching it, but you can still have it be like something that's very relevant and sort of, it's you sort of want all strategies at the high levels to be like semi-high risk on their own, but sort of part of a larger puzzle you can put together. So you don't want the AI pathing to be something which is completely easy for the spy, but not completely impossible either.
Right. I mean, you want depth on that as well. I mean, it's like you want. Yeah, I mean, I think that's in some ways, that's in one way that it's different from Go in the sense that if I watch a Don level Go game, I can't actually even see what they're doing, and so you want there to be another game going on that you think is what's going on, but at the elite levels they're actually playing a different game. I think that's cooler when it can work on multiple levels like that. And poker is kind of like that, like because the rules are so simple. Well, the rules in Go are very simple, but the play locally is so branched that you just can't really tell.
Right.
Okay, let's have me snipe a couple more times just so I can try and get at least you in the highlight section, or not in the low light section. So some more balconies. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Man, I just don't have the confidence to just low light based on that stuff. Like, I think, okay, I'm just going to take a risk here. I think that he turned 90 degrees, but then it could be gaming me because he just told me about how turning 90 degrees is weird. So, I'm glad she left. I think she wouldn't have left if she was him because of a full conversation. That might have been an error there. But when you're playing a way better player, you got to take some risks or you're toast. So, okay, that is not emulatable. Nice bug. I mean, code bug, not. It's a second nestle in there. I wonder how common that is. It's not. Okay, I think the red dress is actually a good low light because I think that was a little weird pathing there too. Okay, that definitely would not have been hit. That's possible. Let's see where he lands. Okay, Snaps gets it.
I'm waiting for the DA to talk. I like having the DA talk before I banana bread because there's less chance that they'll run out of conversation while I'm doing it. Nice.
All right.
Nice.
That was just pure behavior. So yeah, that was. I'm not even sure why I did that.
Okay. Well.
So I think what happened was, so let me look through the log here. Let's see. Okay, so your seduction target took a weird turn in, and then I thought for a second that you were just screwing with me because of the previous talk about 90 degrees. But I was like, when you're playing a way better player, you just have to take some risks. You can't play that conservatively. So I did that. And then Red Dress also had a weird little dance. Or no, she came out of the conversation circle right when it filled up, and I didn't think you'd do that, just because it's so nice to have a full conversation circle at the time.
Did you doubt that after there wasn't a banana bread?
Yes, I said that might have been a game-losing low light right there. That one at 133.6. Let's see. And then who left? Oh, low light. Okay, so purple dress. That must have been a pathing. I don't see what else that would have been.
Okay.
Orange dress nestled right next to the ambassador after returning the briefcase, which happened in the last. Did you return the briefcase in the last game? Do you remember?
No, I didn't touch it.
Yeah, so both people returned the briefcase and then stood like interpenetratingly with the ambassador, which I thought was weird. So I highlighted both of them last game and this game.
Yeah, I think there is an issue with the NPCs can stand in front of people at the windows, and the path they take to get there would be extremely difficult for spies to emulate. They kind of slide in front at the last minute.
Right, yeah. There's probably like a one-wide thing there. I mean, I've extended the zone in front of the people a couple times to like try and make it less likely that somebody will walk right in front of somebody, but it's just like there's always like a little bit of error there.
Right.
They need to have a concept of
orange dress.
Oh, sorry. So
sounds like.
Say again?
Sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to finish up the pathing thing. They need to have a more awareness about what they're doing in the sense of like a kind of like social awareness. Like, hey, dude, you're standing right in front of me. There's no number of feet in front of which you can stand and not be rude to somebody if your back is to them. So it just needs to be much more contextual. Right now, it's just this really dumb, there's the hard boundary in front of them that's the radius of where people can't interpenetrate, and then there's a soft boundary around them, which is part of what started screwing up balcony for you. Is that what did we used to call it? The zone of impoliteness or whatever we called the rudeness thing. But it's just not.
It's a halo of rudeness.
Yeah. It's just still not right because they just need to understand that look, you don't stand in front of somebody, even a meter in front of somebody, with your back to them. It's just totally rude.
Right. And for pathing, is it that same distance that gets used to decide when they try and avoid contact, or do they do they always contact and then decide?
Yeah, basically, there's a little bit of a weirdness with the way the passing system works, where they are like kind of placing the pad, they're placing the blocking section down ahead of them a tiny bit as they traverse between squares, but it's pretty noisy. So I mean that's why you can actually walk through some people sometimes, is if like there's not really a layered concept of who's standing there. There's just, is somebody standing there or not? So you can remove somebody else's thing if the timing of the code is just right, which is kind of broken. I just had to replace the whole thing. It's just totally, I mean, it was just not meant for this level of subtlety and yeah, it's just not production quality, basically.
What was it? Something that you built originally for this, or was it sort of brought in from somewhere else?
It was the Indie Game Jam. So the SpyParty is from the Indie Game Jam 3 or 4, where we got the Sims assets from EA, and we did a bunch of people interacting games. The theme was people interacting that year, and so we needed a simple pathing system that allowed you to walk around a room with a bunch of people, which this does just fine. But when you're starting to like really go deep on a game with it, like it's just too. I mean, it's a grid-based pathing system, which is like old school technology. That's why there's the 8 cardinal directions. It's just not, there's just code that works in a jam and that just is not going to work for a AAA polished, finished indie game. It's just, we ran out of steam on that code.
Right. So do you think that, so you mentioned the 8 cardinal directions. Do you think that is something that will be preserved in the final pathing, or will there be some like radically different, way more free pathing available?
I don't know. I'm kind of terrified to change that, but at the same time, I mean, because it's nice to have the grid because it allows you to emulate the AI better. But
that's what I'm thinking.
But yeah, it just leads to all of these problems. Like it's very hard to do path smoothing when you're on a grid like that. Path smoothing is where like you might do your A-star pathing algorithm to find a rough path of where you're going, but then people cut corners and stuff, and so with the cardinal direction stuff, you get the stuff like that you see on your issues with the courtyard pillar, right? It's just that's how it's a discrete thing, so that's how you have to move around something as opposed to just this smooth thing.
Maybe this is a dumb question, but if you just make the grid really high resolution, does that fix some of those issues?
It does. I mean, obviously, just from calculus says yes, except for, things get slower, and it's still just a bad way. Like, the grid size depends on... The grid size is related to what areas you can walk through. So if the grid size is really small, you'll be able to walk right in front of somebody sometimes and things like that. So there's just a lot of, like... problems. That might be a solution. I mean, I've already increased it a couple times. It's just I basically need to take a couple weeks and just decide that these are the weeks when I'm going to try and fix it. And it's going to be totally broken for a while, but we'll have to see what happens.
Right.
It's a big change.
Is that another kind of thing where you'll run side by side with existing stuff, or?
I mean, it just depends. It's harder to do that than with the art, so we'll have to see how it goes. It might just be like in source code control, I can roll it back if it's just complete disaster for longer than a week or something like that. But if it takes a week to get back to the point where you're like, oh yeah, this has promise, then that's probably acceptable. I mean, it is a beta after all. But and there's another thing which is important, like which a lot of these open beta games run into, is like you just have to not be afraid to make big changes like that. I mean, like everyone knew what they were getting into in the beta, so you got to be able to break it because you just can't get off a local maxima if you don't do that.
Right. I guess it's difficult once players have established expectations based on fair consistency. There have obviously been lots of tweaks and improvements over time, but sort of the base game has been fairly consistent. There are a couple big changes coming up, like the art will have a significant impact and the pathing will have a significant impact.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, the actual gameplay itself, and it will be interesting to see how people react to those sort of whole-scale changes.
Yeah, I mean, but it's interesting because we've had examples of small examples where we can kind of like as a lens on what might happen. Like, you remember how grumpy everyone got after the balcony changes, like you included?
Well, it was because it felt so bad, and it just it's interesting because looking back, the sort of the principles are not very different as to what you can look at now with pathing versus what you can look at then. But it's difficult to describe why it's so hard to see them.
We also,
I don't feel like I'm any better at looking at people moving around the map.
Right, but I mean, I
It's
think there's
just
just
some.
there's also just this, like, it sucks to have mastery taken away from you. You know, you got really good, and then I totally fucked it up. So
Well, yeah,
that just
yeah.
feels
Well,
crappy no
that,
matter
yeah.
what. Even if you know that the new thing is better, like you even like we promised the new thing's better. But I mean, I guess we're lucky because KCM and you always disagree about everything. So if you get really hurt about something, he'll go like, no, it's the greatest thing ever. So like, there's at least some
I guess
pushback.
you've got to really worry if we both think something is bad.
Yeah, totally. Although, I mean, even then, it's like it's scary. But I mean, as a designer, you've gotta like have the courage, or you've got to be able to ignore the fans as well for a little while to get out of the local maximum. Like, it's just you go downhill sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's completely completely understandable, and I can definitely see why, from your point of view, it gets difficult to make those decisions in the face of sort of opposition from other people.
Right, totally. I mean, you
Um,
really want the feedback, but at the same time, you don't want the pitchforks and torches.
no, no. Okay, do you want to do one more sniper on this one?
Yeah, let's do it. So that person took a really weird turn and nestled right up there. Oh, okay. He's so good with the greens, but he is streaming. It's a good time to banana bread. That's a little suspicious. Whoa. Okay. The ambassador actually did that move. I got lucky. It happens. Let's see. Wow, that would have been masterful AI. If he's Blue Danger, that would have been masterful AI craziness with the emulation craziness with the briefcase and the switch decisions. I don't think even he can do that. That was a lot of really fast decision making. That was a drink cancel. I don't think so. He's gonna be done flirting soon. So what am I gonna do? He's been talking a lot. White has. Ugh.
Okay, so this stacking I think occurs more often with the spy. I took control there, but I didn't do any guiding.
In the end of red.
You'll also notice that. So I wonder if Double Agent got a highlight for that. Although there's obviously nothing productive he was doing over at the window, so even though he ran, it wouldn't have been beneficial. So it'll be interesting to see if Chris highlights for that or not. That was some interesting parting from Revolta. Everyone else is leaving, so I'm going to follow the crowd, go stand in this bush. Viri knows and has identified that I like standing at the ends of the balcony. I'd done that for a long time just because I felt like it was more unnatural for a spy to be doing that. But now that people know that it's something that I like to do, I've been trying to pick middles more often. Chris also seems to like to look for people who speak fairly quickly after entering. There's a lot going on right now, so I'm not going to worry too much about talking as soon as I get in. So now I need one more flirt. I'm going to take that drink. Now I'm going to stand and wait for a bit. And if my seduction target moves, I'm basically going to follow because we're fairly low on time. I might also try a briefcase to allow me to re-enter. I think I'm going to do that. Okay, it worked out very, very well. That was rather fortunate. That was not what I was planning on, but it worked out to my advantage. So it'll be interesting to see if I got a highlight or not. Okay.
No clue. No clue. I was pushing my function
Okay,
key down.
that was. I got very lucky at the end there. I was running out of time for the final flirt, and so I was going to go for briefcase and return to give me an excuse to re-enter conversation.
Yep.
But my seduction target decided to join me at the window anyway. So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I didn't even know. Yeah, I had no clue. There was a moment with Blue Danger where I had him highlighted for something or other. Let's see. Oh, he was talking, I guess. Or no, wait, he was a double agent. When did I highlight? Spy leads conversation. I don't remember what that highlight was for, but Blue Danger did this like walk to the briefcase, but somebody else picked it up, immediately switch directions and go to the window, and I was like, I don't know, I don't think even your micro is that good. Like it was just so like boom, 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 like 3 decisions with way less than a second.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, those are always fantastic to watch as sniper.
Yeah, I mean,
Very tells me my stream is doing something funky, so I'm just going to switch that off and on again. So
okay.
Bear with me for a second.
Sure. Zero is teasing me in stream that I've twice said the game's going to end soon, right as it ends.
Well, that's a good sense to have. I've always been very surprised. This is one of those very things to be able to say, now would be a good time to do this. I have no sense of that other than the fact that if I haven't seen a statue swap, I know near the end I've got to be watching the statues.
Right. And then Cat of Source says, it was 15 seconds left. He must be psychic that the game's going to end soon. Thanks.
Okay, I can see this flickering on my preview of the stream. So the video is just cutting in and out for no obvious reason. So let me just fiddle with a few settings and see if I can fix this.
No problem.
I might restart game as well.
No problem. I will chat with my stream.
Yeah, that sounds like a smart idea.
I will say what I'm typing as I type it. Hello, stream. I don't know how you actually chat with a stream. Do I just say something and then you guys chat a question and then I say something? Or do I, like, type too? I don't actually do this very often. Cheat code for giant heads. Yeah, giant heads to read the giant guest list. All right. Somebody else want to play me for a second while he's All right, I'm gonna go play somebody else to keep the stream busy.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem at all. I'll just I'll have some less stressful games versus someone here, and then just
okay.
Just yell on TeamSpeak when you're ready, and I'll totally bail
Okay,
out.
we'll do.
Yep. When will you be added sunglasses to security guard? All right. Who's going to play me? Dun, 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 dun. All these people, I could click on any of them. Bacon came out.
Hello.
Hi there.
How's
Hello.
it going?
It's good.
What do you want to play here?
I'm getting schooled, literally.
All right, I'm going to be... What map do we want to play here?
You want to do some K3 soft and K3 hard on Veranda?
Sure.
Soft or hard first?
Your choice.
I have better luck with hard for some reason. Of course, that luck's about to change, I'm sure.
We'll see how it goes.
I'm talking into my stream now. Alright, I don't really have a plan here, so I'm gonna just cheese this by going over here. And I've had such good luck with bugs on this map in K3 Hard, I can't even believe it.
Okay, as far as I can tell, when I fired up OBS again, it crashed SpyParty again. So I'm going to kill my side of the stream, so we can carry on just with your stream, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, usually just restarting fixes that, like restarting the game and stuff.
Well, I restarted the game and OBS, and then OBS re-crashed SpyParty. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, Viri's saying that I switched to using the game capture because that was better for my ATs.
Ah, yeah,
but,
yeah.
It may be related to that.
Yeah, it's probably related. I mean, if you don't mind the slow ITs, switch back to the window capture so people can see and hear.
Yeah, let me try switching that and see if it makes a difference. It may also be that my computer is just really hot because everything is really hot here. So I'll see what happens. Okay, give me another minute or two.
Totally. Okay, this is known as the very slow red to green cheese. Usually you just rush it. Oh man, that's bad. The AI would have been able to make that path. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to swap statues. I got 2 minutes though, that's not bad. Doing pretty good here. Okay,
I honestly don't have a lot to go on right now. I'm pretty sure you're done microfilm at this point. I know you're not done swap.
Are you sure the statues aren't different?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Now look again.
They were actually pretty easy to memorize.
Look again at those other ones in the corner over there.
Yeah, okay.
My previous push-to-talk key didn't allow trash talking, so this is clearly the superior push-to-talk key.
Trash talking is an essential part.
Here we go, folks. Yes! Alright, I just need to run for it.
I'm just gonna throw this out here. I'm pretty sure you're red dress. Yep, you're red dress. Did you just green swap that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure you're red dress. And a guy's picking up your statue right now.
Run
And
away!
he just green swapped it, and I'm gonna shoot you.
Run away! Yes!
Oh my god!
Oh, yes!
Oh god!
Oh,
man.
Slap you in stream? Yes, he is.
That hurts me.
Oh, yes.
At least, yeah, I figured you were doing the microfilm there, but I didn't see where you had gotten it from. So that made you my top suspect.
Yeah, it took me. Look how long it took me to like. Where did I pick up the? I kept the damn book for over a minute, which was terrifying.
I was pretty sure though that I had never seen you at that shelf, and that's why I was pretty sure that was the microfilm. I missed the bug completely.
Yeah, I've been the master of bugs on K3 Hard on this level, just total randomly. Like I haven't even seen myself bug most games when I've bugged. It's like I click the button and then the spy's on the other side of the map and the bug is checked off. I don't know what. It's like good bug mojo on this map for some reason.
It's pretty beautiful.
Yes, when it works.
All right, let's see if I have the same kind of luck with you shooting someone else.
I switched using capture of the full monitor, and so far nothing has crashed.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
What's your frame rate?
I fiddled it around. I think I switched it from 25 to 20 to try and keep ATs reasonable.
Yep. All right, so let me try and shoot bacon here, and then we'll rejoin you.
Sounds like fun.
We're doing hard, right? Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
1322, 1322, 1333, 1322, 1333, 1322, 1333, 1322, 1333. All right, Plaid's acting a little funny. I don't think she would have gone to that conversation circle so close. It's right next to the ambassador. I don't know. Maybe not. 1, 3. Wait. Did I miscount that? 1, 2. Did that swap, or did I miss?
Who's doing that?
Did I just miss which?
Out of curiosity.
Crap. Did you swap already?
I may or may not have swapped.
Okay, good. Thank you for narrowing it down. I think I misremembered one of the 4,000 statues.
I can understand that.
Oh man, was that a Maltese Falcon, and now it's a Venus? That's grim. All right. Blue Danger's at the swap special statue, so we'll see.
I did something really bad recently,
Oh yeah?
and either you missed it or you're just toying with me.
I wish I was toying with you. Alright, I think I totally tunnel visioned. It's grim now, folks. Wow. Green plaid dress really likes looking out the window. What is she looking at? There's nothing out there. Alright, start to try and beat deductive time. Alright, he's got a book, and it's a red book, and I just marked it green. I think. Actually, I don't even know. She's been a little active recently.
Oh, that was close.
Ugh. I had you highlight.
Yeah,
At
I
least.
guess for the microfilm.
Yeah, well, I started I started, when did I highlight you? Way down here, right? Yeah. I started being like, I gotta just be deductive about this because I totally am not, I'm totally not making any progress. I tunneled on green plaid dress for a really long time.
When I bugged the ambassador, I bugged with the wrong hand, so my right arm was just flying towards the outside of the map, like just way out in the open.
Oh, I have it programmed so the AIs salute me every once in a while, so I just figured it was that.
And I didn't get the green there, and I was kind of worried about that because I kind of swapped right in front of your face a little bit.
Yeah, so you didn't. Oh, see, the statues, I tunneled on both green plaid.
Yeah, I didn't want to confirm that I hadn't swapped.
Yes,
I wanted you to think that
I
I
was
had,
just,
so you wouldn't pay too much attention.
I was just talking to my stream and forgetting to push that. I tunneled on green plaid, and then I misremembered the statues, but now I see that there's a Maltese Falcon in front, and that was a 2-2, so I totally, damn it. I started doubting myself on the statues because I was spending so much time memorizing them and then so much time thinking that it was a Maltese Falcon in the back corner when it was actually the Venus of Willendorf. I was totally screwed. Oh well. Well, 2 spy wins on K3 hard. Gotta love it.
Well, thank you very much for the games.
Yes, thanks for the intermission. You ready, R7?
I think so, yeah.
Let's do it. Okay, back to class. That was a nice intermission.
That was like the milk.
Exactly. All right, so now what?
So now do you want to spy a few times on balcony?
Sure. Sure.
I'm going to attempt to give fairly full descriptions on stream of the lowlights.
Cool.
So we'll see if I'm capable.
I will rewatch it later.
That's unfortunately that's probably the most useful way of learning, but it involves double the time, right? Because you have to play the
Exactly.
stream and then watch the stream.
Yes, exactly.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, so cast members down and ambassador highlight to begin with. This is weird stacking, but not sure it's particularly indicative. I'll just remember the pairing. Snaps is these guys are talking early. That was a nice cancel. Maybe it was a bit. Don't know. Already talk.
I didn't even...
Briefcase. Okay, that was very, very odd from Snaps. He bailed because the other person picked up the briefcase. Still unusual to see him walk in front of someone.
In the end of red.
I didn't even get the bug.
I'm going to attempt to give fairly full descriptions on stream of the lowlights.
Cool.
So we'll see if I'm capable.
I will rewatch it later.
that's unfortunately that's probably the most useful way of learning, but it involves double the time, right?
Exactly.
You have to play the stream and then watch the stream.
Yes, exactly.
You ready?
Yep. That was absurd. Did he notice that? Okay. Oh my god, I didn't even make the bug! Oh shit! Oh my god, that was everything for nothing. Alright, fine. This is death.
In the end of red.
He thinks I got the bug, and now he's gonna shoot me. I didn't even get the bug! Like, it didn't even take.
I didn't even see you, Bug. To be honest, I didn't even see you were there until about 15 seconds into the match. When I marked you suspicious, that's when I saw you next to the ambassador.
I totally, I was like, oh, this is a disaster. I, was spinning pirouettes at the beginning, and then I was like, fuck it, I'll just bug. And then, I did the bug, and it totally, he must have left right at the right time. Ugh.
I was busy looking at the two stacked NPCs at the window, trying to decide whether that was something that you would do for a quick flirt or not. But,
yes. Especially
yeah,
after our previous conversation.
Yeah, oh, so wait, you were in conversation, but you were right next to the ambassador.
Yes. I think he left right as I tried to bug.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, he ran
yeah, it's
second and a half later or so.
Yeah, it's a second and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, so mostly the shot was I had a couple of lowlights accumulated. You hadn't moved anywhere yet, so I was
Hence
a little bit suspicious of that. And then the only talker I think during the banana bread.
Yeah, no, it was the banana bread was a complete Hail Mary because I thought you saw the bug and I was just like fuck it. But
I mean that's fair. I mean that's essentially why I shot, because I realized that there may have been a bug. And
right.
So that was earlier than I would have shot if I hadn't realized you were standing right next to the ambassador.
Right, which if you do the Yomi correct means I shouldn't have done it because it was just going to get me shot no matter what.
Right. I mean, it's I don't know. Well, the thing is with balcony that you might feel that if there's a lot of movement anyway, which there was, not from you, but there was a fair amount of movement from the other guests, then I would even if there was no banana bread, I'd start to get worried about easy finishing of the flirt.
Right. Totally.
So yeah, it's sort of unlucky if you end up next to the ambassador very early because you're sort of guaranteed suspicion.
Yeah, exactly. I love that aspect of it though, where you're like, get away from me.
Yeah, well, and Very uses that very effectively to point out people who are avoiding the ambassador's space very precisely. If you are deliberately avoiding being close.
Wow. Yep, I'm not at that level yet.
No, well, neither am I.
Okay, here we go. Anytime.
Okay, so I didn't see a bug in there, but there was plenty of opportunity, and it sort of stopped me from looking at what else was
This is
going on.
farce.
That was a reasonably good entry to the composition. That was a nice quick talk after picking up a drink, which is kind of difficult to do, so probably not red tie. That was a decent path to window, so I'm also going to say probably not for that. I'm going to watch Bondo, see when he takes a drink. I didn't really see when that was the right point. Okay, so that would be a low light if it wasn't already, but the pick up with the briefcase there. That little acceleration away was not very spy-like. I don't think these guys have really moved very much yet. Bondo was looking for a flirt there, but he was kind of far away when he joined the conversation. That straight line to conversation is a bit unusual. Bouncing from Grim there. Possible, of course, that there's no control being taken, which is always a good strategy against pathing stuff. So let's look again to see when Bondo takes a sip. It's an interesting little 180. Late talk. This guy wouldn't do briefcase so late. Interrupt for drink. Very late talk again. This guy shuffled in and out.
Anytime. Oh, please. I miss again. I did. Oh my god. It's like, this is farce. So I'm thinking he knows it's either me or Blue Danger now. I think I just saved getting shot by remembering Toby was there. Oh my. There's no way. I have a drink in my hand too. Oh, that would have been nice if she had sat there. But no. Alright, this is not. Not good. 33 seconds. I need to get rid of this drink. It just keeps happening. Oh, that's. I did manage to bug.
You did? Oh, okay.
It was
Nice.
it was the third time I was standing next to the ambassador.
Hang on. Oh, I see. There were multiple attempts.
Yeah, there were multiple attempts. Like, it was like total farce.
Okay. Oh, actually, so you were one of my suspects from fairly early on for that same
Right,
positioning.
the AI plopped me right on top of the ambassador. It was like, oh, jeez.
Well, but you had 9 seconds to avoid that, right? Because you let it take control for the first 9
Yeah, oh,
seconds.
totally. No, it's totally my fault. The time of chaos is a good low light period for elite players. So,
Well, not so much, right? Because the problem with the time of chaos is that it's very likely that someone hasn't taken control yet.
right, it's true.
So there's sort of this trade-off between you don't want to low light for pathing too early,
True. Very true.
Because then you are running the risk of, and there are some players, I think Bloodwolf does this to me a lot, who wait a long time before taking control, like down to like 1 minute 10 left, say.
Right.
Because there's a decent chance that they will have earned a low light. The other thing is, it's normally quite identifiable if your character has done something that earns a low light. You know what the ridiculous pathing looks like.
Right. I mean,
so
in this
you
case,
can sort of sit there and see.
Right. In this case, it's like, how would you play the like AI? Let's say I was using that strategy. Let's take a winger and say, okay, I was going to leave the AI on to avoid a low light in the early time.
Yep.
But it plants me right on top of the ambassador. Like, what's the play?
That's a good question. So, nothing rapid, certainly. One of the things that is quite good is, wasting time on briefcase you can do on this map. Wasting time going window to window. Window to window is quite rare from AI now. That seems like it's a lot rarer than it used to be.
Right.
I'm not sure why that is. But,
I think it's because I made it so much easier for them to get into a conversation, so they prefer to go to conversations if they can. I should probably make a note is that in your thread actually?
What the fact that window to window is so rare now?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I mean, it may have been mentioned in discussion, but I don't think it's sort of listed as a separate point.
Yeah, we should. If you can you add that to the thread of the balcony strat thing?
Yeah, I will do.
Okay.
So was that an explicit change that you said?
It was.
Or are you
remember,
suggesting this is a result of being able to retry with conversations?
Well, it's one of the those second order things that this game is just full of, which is that like AI made it easier for them to pack themselves in. I mean, ignoring the in front thing, which shouldn't be happening. I mean, I don't understand why it's so bad, but the fact that they are allowed to get closer to each other, just radially, arc wise. And then they'll retry conversations if somebody takes their spot. So those things together like just completely change the dynamic because they prefer conversations.
Right. See, I don't remember explicitly being able to get closer to each other radially, unless you're referring to being able to join in the non-largest spot.
There's that part of it as well, but in order to make that work better, like they'll get a little closer to each other. It's pretty subtle, but it's enough. Like when you just after a bazillion games, you'll see a bias towards they'll shove themselves in more closely.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if in a couple of the rounds we've played so far, the two characters have stacked themselves in the conversation circle.
Yeah, I just don't understand why that's happening.
I also don't really understand why that happens.
Yeah, you and me both.
That was also new from the big update on Halo of rudeness and things.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, that should happen less often. I don't understand why it's happening.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but it seems it's only beginning game, but it's not sort of super rare anymore. It's kind of confusing.
Maybe it's a retry thing. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on there.
Possibly. I have a suspicion that it slightly more frequently involves Spy, but I have nothing other than just gut feeling to base that off.
I mean, it's certainly in our game so far, it's all been AI, I think.
I was Spy for the first one.
Oh, did you stack?
I was stacked up behind Blue Danger in one of them. Ah,
okay. Yeah, well, this time it was the AI.
Right.
And a previous time in one of my games was the AI, I think, as well. I don't know. It's good. That kind of stuff is so analog. It's not really recorded in the journals, so I can't really tell.
Right.
Replays will help with that.
So, sort of one broad question that I want to ask you at some point, but it doesn't have to necessarily be addressed now or on the stream even, is I know that your sort of your view of metrics as design tools is essentially that you have to be extremely careful when applying them, at least when you're thinking about things like using them as measurements of player satisfaction or
yes,
sort of soft things. But SpyParty is very much a game where it seems like statistical analysis at the high levels will become very important. So what are your sort of thoughts on I mean, presumably you have access to all the data. Do you run many metrics yourself on this kind of stuff to figure out whether the nonlinear effects that you think you're seeing are real or biases or?
Not really, because I know that I can at some point in time, but it takes a long time to actually even figure out how to measure things correctly. I mean, that's one of the reasons that I have kind of a instinctual concern about metrics is because it's so easy. I mean, you're a mathematician. I mean, you're not applied, but you know, like it's so easy to measure the wrong thing and not realize it. You know, you end up debugging what you're measuring half the time, and so.
Right.
It's just so easy, and once you put something in numbers, it has so much power over you psychologically that I just hesitate. I hesitate to do that at all. I mean, not hesitate. That's the wrong word. I mean, I got a ton of shit on my plate, right? So I got a ton of stuff to do. It's not proven to be important yet, and I know a lot of the risks. So it's more that it's more just it hasn't bubbled to the top. I do want to do more of it, and it'll be interesting to see the holes in what I'm actually recording. There will definitely be some moments, you know, once I try to do that where I'm like, oh, geez, if I had tried to do this earlier, I would have seen that I should have been recording this variable, and I wasn't, and so now I have no idea how to compute this. But, I mean, one of the saving graces, I think, is going to be the replay database is just going to have the whole game in it. So even if I don't record events, you'll be able to back process what they are with a really, you know, time-consuming grind through all the analog data too. Hopefully, I'll get most of the stuff in the discrete data that you see on the log, though.
Yes, yeah, and I know this, but just for reference for everyone else, there's also more events recorded than are displayed in the current log, right?
Yeah. So like the laser position and aim is and the zoom level is sampled, and there's a few other things like that, and there's some NPCs, but it doesn't really record. It's not like this level of detail is recorded for every character. That's not actually. It's very spy-centric right now still.
Right, which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it's mostly for this display with some forward metrics, and I think as we go forward and we get some of the metric stuff going, like this will change a bunch and be, you know, and I'll record more stuff. But yeah, so I guess it just hasn't proven necessary to do that kind of statistical analysis yet. You guys are enough of a stochastic process that
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess what I would really sort of think of it as useful for at this stage is not so much the fine tuning, but you know, if you make a change and then the players say, well, we think the pathing has changed, or like we think this is happening more frequently or less frequently, that although it's not a direct change that you've made, you would be able to you know, decide, are the players crazy or are the players seeing something that's real?
Yeah, totally. It's just really hard to measure that. Like, say, let's take pathing quality for a second. Like, it's not even clear. Like, you could, you remember that visual display I did when Zero figured out that no one was standing anywhere near the other bookshelf in the small bookshelf in ballroom. Do you remember that?
A very long time ago, right?
Yeah. So I basically just plopped a dot anytime when somebody went to the bookshelf, and hey, lo and behold, like there's nobody. You know, they're using a tiny corner of the thing.
Right.
That was a total custom one-off thing to study this bug report. Basically, it's very hard to see how to do that without something to shoot for. Because it's, you know, to boil something down to a number or even a grid of numbers is just it's just hard to know what to even look at. So the simpler stuff like biases, like do people, you know, what mission order do people tend to do things in, you know, how often do they, you know, if the ambassador's standing next to them, how often do they take the opportunity, things like that. Those are relatively easy to do, and I think I've got the data for doing those. But something like pathing quality, like I don't even know. I would have to think for a couple days even for some prototype ways you would even try and study that.
Yeah. I guess you would need extremely fine data to be able to ask the questions.
Which means,
pathing, for example.
Yeah, and when you have extremely fine data, it means you have gigabytes of data for these. You know, there's hundreds of thousands of games now, and so it's like it would just be the sea of numbers, right? And so you got to figure out some way of asking the question first, I guess. I mean, in that sense, it's kind of like math.
Right.
A good question is half the battle.
So, just as an example. How much storage space does one game's worth of data take up right now?
It's not very big. It's I mean, because it's not doing replays yet. It's just doing these event logs. I think it's a couple K basically, compressed. But you know, I think I computed that the replay, like the network bandwidth it uses, is like 2K bytes a second. And so I think a game is going to be around a megabyte or something like that, which is totally fine, and that's uncompressed too. So I don't think the replay database will be that big these days.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the goal is going to be have all the database, all the replays always available, all online. If it ends up being terabytes and I'm paying, you know, hundreds of dollars a month for it, then we'll figure out some priority scheme.
Maybe reevaluate then.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully, disk space is relatively cheap, even on like Amazon S3. So hopefully, it'll just be all games forever. That would be great.
So this is just because I have no idea how these things work. But if you're saving replays, is that literally like having saved a video of the round, or is it
No.
more like you are reconstructing from data?
Yeah, no. It's more. It's video. The problem with videos is totally unstructured, so you wouldn't be able to analyze anything from it. You'd just be able to watch it. What I'm saving is basically the network packets, or what I'm going to save. The network. The fact that I see the same thing you see within, once I fix all the sync bugs, means that little stream of data of just who moved where and what animations they played and that kind of stuff allows you to reconstruct the thing from any angle, because I can just move the characters in that same place. So what'll eventually happen is this screen I'm looking at right now, which is the log screen, the event screen, will be a timeline across the bottom with a little picture-in-picture thing, and you'll be able to just see the very major ones marked, like all the ones that are, say, marked spy suspicious or whatever. And as you mouse over it, there'll be all the minor ones will pop up, and then you'll be able to just scrub it, and in the window will just scrub back and forth any view you want of what happened in the game. So you can just view it from any angle and freeze it and back it up and that kind of thing. So, but it'll be 3D, full 3D, not video. Video's way bigger and way less structured.
Okay, interesting. So okay, last question on this, because this is probably getting boring for the stream watchers, but if you are sending this list of data which allows you to reconstruct all NPC movements and all spy movements and then rewatch it from any angle, because you're just updating all the variables, that would presumably allow you to reconstruct sort of positioning numerically as well if the raw data was easily accessible. I don't know what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sent over the network.
No, totally. That's the point. You'll be able to access it numerically via watching it graphically, but you'll also be able to query it. The problem is doing a database query. Databases are very good at querying things like this. Oh, by the way, I don't think anyone's getting bored with this. I hope not.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Certainly the elite players are not getting bored with this, I don't think. But the event log is very discrete data. Like you can say how many times did you flirt? Right? That's an easy database query to make. If I give you a stream of spy positions, it's going to be it's going to be thousands of floating point values. How do you reason about that? It just becomes that it'll be there, it'll be available, but what do you do with it is the question.
Right. Well, yes, I agree that it certainly requires more thought, but it obviously also allows more interesting questions.
Totally. Oh,
so
100%.
The things that are going to be the most difficult to be able to read are intent, right? So one of the things I've been thinking about is how would you classify, if you were looking at data, how would you classify a banana split? How do you know when someone banana splits? Is it enough to say they green BB'd and then ran immediately? Or do they have to go and do a mission afterwards? Or do they have to head towards a mission, and then if they veer off somewhere, was that an aborted attempt?
Exactly. It's really now you see the problem and why I don't run numbers very often is because it's all that you end up with thresholds everywhere where you're making decisions about that intent because you can't reconstruct it, and you put 5% error in here and then it balloons. You're multiplying this forward error value as you go through it, and it's like you end up with this thing that looks like a really great number. 27% of the time, drawn banana splits, but is it real? Who even knows?
63, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's in applied math. There's this idea of the difference between precision and accuracy. You might have a very precise, inaccurate answer.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, that's again what you say with the power of numbers. Reporting an extremely precise number tends to make people think that it's more accurate.
Right. Exactly.
Even though it's nowhere necessarily.
Yeah,
this is one of the things that lots of the talks that I've seen are on cancer modeling. That's like a big thing in our department. And the problem with those is that there are lots and lots of parameters in these models, and the estimates are all, they find an estimate from a related study with a different type of cancer, and that's like the best number they have. So the error bars on their data that they produce from these models are just huge.
Yeah, exactly. But any port in a storm, and when a number looks like a port, you really want to dock the boat there and hang out.
Or at least it looks like a port to someone else, the person who gives you money. So
yes, exactly.
So anyway, back to your original question of if I feel like I've earned an early highlight on this map, what would I do? Yes. Certainly one of the things I would do is pay a lot of attention to see if there's anyone I think I can frame. What I definitely don't want to do is end up BBing when I'm the only hight in conversation.
Yeah, I pay so little attention to who else is talking. It's like a conscious effort to pay attention to who else is talking, and I need to do that.
Yeah.
Let alone
and it's just really hard as well to be paying proper attention to things like pathing lowlights. Like if someone's lowlighting pathing, it's really difficult to know if they've low-lighted someone that you are setting up as your frame.
Right.
And I don't really think there's any way around that.
How much do you? I mean, I've got that blog stuff that we're still going to publish those things you wrote for a while ago. But how much do you pay attention to who you're playing and their play style?
Me right now, exceedingly little to almost everyone. The only people that I really vary my game against are Viri and Casey, because I've played them the most,
right? And
so I have a little bit more feel, and also just because they are both like very different players to my play style. And so I feel the need to vary what I do. Most of what I do is not sort of changing from one mode of play to the other. It's just saying, right, I need to be much more varied in what I do. I can't just do like one thing and keep doing it round after round. It will get caught if I do that.
Right.
This round I need to earn this kind of low light, and then next round I need to earn another kind of low light.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which is, you need to have a repertoire to do that, and you need to know what kind of things, even between those two players, Viri and Casey, there are some things that one of them reliably lowlights for, and some things that the other one reliably highlights for, the exact same thing. So there's very much a case of detailed knowledge required there.
So do you learn that from watching streams? Do you learn that from studying the logs in between games, or how do you learn that about them?
For the most part, I learn it because we discuss what we do, and as you are certainly aware, and many of the players and stream watchers will be aware as well. People are very happy to be open and discuss things in this game at this stage, which is excellent for learning. There are when I first played Viri, he shot me for banana splits so many times in a row because I basically refused to believe that he could be catching me for them.
Right.
Because no one watched for that. No one watched for people moving after the banana breads. The established priority was you're watching the ambassador or the statues. So I just kept doing it until eventually he told me, like, I'm shooting you because of this. So I was like, okay. So I sort of tried changing, and and now it's funny because that strategy is almost entirely dead at elite levels. It's extremely rarely used. And at least in the games I play, people it's a guaranteed highlight. Even if you're not doing anything, even if you've just moved to the window or something, I will highlight anyone who's moved after banana breads like that.
Right, totally. That's awesome.
So that there are definitely things, and I'm sure there are still things where I get shot for them and I just don't know why, and it's not something I will be able to fix unless I am told it. Now, as you say, that is likely to change with replays, although interpreting sniper lowlights and highlights can still be a little difficult.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Especially if it's behavioral.
Right, the follow-up on the Viri shooting you that many times is like he didn't obviously shoot you immediately afterwards every time, or you would have stopped it faster. It just gave him the suspicion that it was you, and then he shot you with the next piece of data, I assume, right?
No, he was shooting me pretty quick. I just couldn't believe that it was something that you could do reliably. I would think, he happened to be like looking at that conversation that time. I wasn't convinced that you could be paying attention to something else and then catch it, because no one else had been doing that so far.
Right, totally.
I mean,
awesome.
Since he showed it's possible, now everyone does, and everyone everyone learns how to do it.
Yep.
But it's in the initial sort of new players definitely can't do that. That's probably one of the hardest things to do as a new player, because there's so much going on. Right? Switch attention quickly.
Yeah, spreading your attention out is just so difficult, even for me.
Right, but I mean, not even sort of spreading equally, but just switching back and forth from one thing to the other. Like even now, these games that I'm commentating against you on Balcony, I've said a couple of times, like, okay, now I'm watching for this, and then I watch it for a few seconds, and then I come back and I say, right, I've completely missed who's been talking for the last 5 seconds.
Right.
I couldn't be watching you sipping a drink while I was watching someone else talk properly. So it's sort of, you've got to be careful with syncing time. It's not even it's not even tunneling, because it's not particular suspicion. It's just, right now I'm spending attention here.
Right.
I know I haven't spent it there.
Yeah, I mean that's that's the aesthetic goal of the whole attention as a resource thing, where you're spending
very much so. Yeah. So yeah, in this round, I was fairly suspicious of you, and I said 2 or 3 times, I'm going to watch to see at what point in the cycle Bondo takes a drink. And each time, just as you took a drink, like someone else moved or someone else started talking, and it took my attention away. So I never actually saw when you took your sips.
Yeah,
even though I had, I was very dedicatedly like this is my focus right now. I still got distracted by other things.
Yeah, I almost forgot to take a drink one time. I don't know if you noticed, but he was turning away from me when I finally got the drink.
That constitutes a slight tell now, right? I think there's a little buffer on AI taking drinks, so that they don't tend to do that anymore.
Wait, say it one more time.
I think taking a drink that late still constitutes a slight tell, right? I think the AI won't quite take it when Toby is withdrawing the tray anymore.
Yeah. Oh no. It was a tell. It was just right on that edge of like. I mean, it was a clear tell if you had been paying 100% attention to me, but without paying 100% attention to me, it was merely more suspicion, I think.
Yeah. No, I had no idea. Toby is another thing that I tend not to pay very much attention to. There's enough. At least without having sort of tried too hard, it seems to me there's enough variation in how long he stands there that it's difficult to sort of reliably say that was too long.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually like one of the goals when I do a change like that is this like make the window such that you can tell it's happening if you're just pouring all your attention in there. You're like, okay, 1,000, 2 1,000, that was a little bit long or whatever, you know, if you've got a lot of training in that area. But if you're just glancing, like it's too hard, it's too fuzzy.
Yeah, well, I think, as you say that, I think the other important thing is you don't really want it to be possible to do that straight away. You want people to have to work.
Yeah, totally.
And learn what that feels like to look at that timing.
Well, there's the learning across games, the elite level thing, but there's also within a game that deciding where you're going to place your attention. Like if you're counting Toby at that level, you're not watching the ambassador at all, basically.
Right, and you're not watching pathing, and you're not watching who's like potential flirts, and yeah.
Yeah, and so that multi-level thing
at the moment, I don't think that is a sort of high enough or a strong enough tell to make a high priority. It's another one of what Casey would call, like the confirmations. If you've already got suspects, it's a really nice thing to use as a confirmation.
Yeah,
but totally. It's not enough to give you any sort of evidence for yourself. And the same with say because you were one of just 2 suspects, I was able to think about watching your drink sipping. There's no way I'd be watching your drink sipping otherwise.
Right.
So let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say about that round. No, I think that's most of the things I had to comment on there. But
I'm super happy.
I see a lot from the streams that I have seen of you play is that you time out or you are about to time out fairly often. So if I was to say like one thing that I think your game count would improve if you changed would be to be more more assertive. It's the whole like psychology of you see everything you do, so you see all your mistakes, but the sniper sees many fewer.
Yeah. I was watching a stream actually last night, and the woman playing was just because she was narrating, it was just a very clear example of that thing the first time you play Spy, where you're like, oh my god, he knows exactly who it is. Oh, he totally saw that, and like the other guy just not even close. Like, but you psych yourself out with that, and that happens, I think, at my level at least too. I mean, it's a beginner level. It's the first thing you feel as a Spy. I mean, everyone who writes about the game thinks until they play their first game of Sniper, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so obvious.
Right.
In this case, it's interesting that I time out. I definitely, it's like I think I probably either rush or I time out, and so I need to spread.
Okay.
Time management is not a skill that I've really worked on very much. How much do you think about like Viri talks all the time about like one mission per minute or 1 mission per 30 seconds or whatever. Do you do the same thing?
So I think that's a really good thing to just say once to new players to get them to think about just roughly how long you have per mission. I don't think it's sort of a thing to live by. Variation in pacing, it can be extremely powerful. I tend to think that if you're going to do something rushed, then rushing at the beginning tends to be much better than rushing at the end.
Yeah, I think I definitely think rushing at the beginning is better than rushing at the end, but I don't think rushing at the beginning is very good unless it's so opportunistic.
Yeah, it's very much you have to sort of have decided that you're going to try and then react, and if the opportunity is there, do it. But you have to be willing to pull out of it as well.
Yeah, especially if you got implicated. Yeah, right. Or if you get implicated by the ambassador early, or get plopped next to a statue on a map where rushing statues are the thing. You're like, wave off! No, stop.
Yeah. So the only thing that sort of the only way the late rush works, I think, is if you've earned a lone light through inactivity or pathing or something. Otherwise, I think it's a bit risky. But yeah, variation in pacing is also important. So I don't think it's sort of 45 seconds from now I should complete another mission, and then 45 seconds another one. There's also sort of reading the situations and deciding what's most available. So one of the things that I said, I had a long time in one of these rounds with the DA in conversation. I think it was actually the round that you shot me, and the DA was in conversation with me for a long time and did nothing, didn't speak. And one of the things that I like to try and do is, if I'm going to banana bread, I like it to try and be when the DA is talking, because that way there's a less of a chance they're going to bail right as I do it.
Right. That's good.
So, I sort of, I react to the NPC's timing in that sense. If they talk right away, then I'll do the mission right away. And if they don't talk for a minute, then it will be a minute before I do the mission. And that's not, that's obviously not anything to do with some sort of external pacing requirement. That's just pacing as set by what the NPCs are doing.
Right. I mean, I think that's your point about saying it to newbies or intermediate players is probably more able to deal with the time management advice like that. But that idea, it's not a hard and fast rule, but you want to have an internal clock that's going, okay, I'm a little bit behind now, or I'm a little bit ahead.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think that I find this kind of this dichotomy kind of funny. If I do like a quick mission or two on, say, Courtyard 2, where there's a little bit more time than here, then sort of finishing 2 missions in 2 minutes feels not too bad. But if I've done the first 2 missions over 2 minutes and I have 1 minute left for the final 2, that feels way more stressful.
Right. Well, it's kind of related to that.
The overall pacing was exactly the same.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. That I think it was a recent thread in the forums where this idea of momentum behind a match, where things are going your way, and you just have that feeling of a bug goes really smoothly, or even if it doesn't go smoothly, you're still alive after a bug. You're like, all right, yeah. Untouchable.
Yes, yeah, no, that definitely is something that I've seen and felt and experienced.
And I think that's related actually to the thing you were mentioning a minute ago about the spy paranoia, where if you're having a good game, you're less susceptible to that. Like, oh, he must have saw that. Oh, he must have saw that. You're more like, I'm James Bond. No problems here. And which even if it's not true, it probably smooths things out psychologically, so you're not quite as stressed. Yeah. So these recent rounds that I played against Casey on Balcony Way, I sort of won the first 4 or 5 fairly easily, and then he came back and started, consistently killing me every round. Right.
I didn't really change my playstyle in response. I felt like I was playing really, I was executing exactly as I would like to with my playstyle, and it was just that he was watching for smarter things than I was thinking about. But it was difficult to resist the temptation to ascribe it to the fact that was I being too cautious or too aggressive? I felt like I was doing the same things I would normally, but I was still getting caught every time. So it was sort of a little perplexing. Yeah. Actually, one of the a few months back, I normally am pretty good about shaking off losses and accepting like the lucky wins gracefully. But I got hammered really badly by Darwin. I think I went something like 2-13 against him.
Ouch. And
I had no idea what the hell was going on. Like, I would just try something different next round and something different the round after that to try and get anything away. And, I had no response. And I'm pretty sure that it was not that I was being, beaten by someone who was just significantly better. I think it was that I was talking myself out of good opportunities, and my pacing was, I was changing things and it was not my normal style. And so I was just not doing it, not executing as well. But it was really interesting.
Yeah, in the stream last night,
implosion.
Yeah, totally. In the stream last night, she was just like psyching herself out completely. Like, there's no question that she could have played twice. In fact, I tweeted at her about like some advice going forward, and she tweeted back like, "Yeah, I was doing better before I learned all the tells, because now that I know all the tells, I'm seeing them all the time in my own play."
Right. Yeah, now you've got way more to worry about for yourself.
Yeah, it's like Yomi with yourself.
So let's see, where are we? Do you want to do one more balcony, or do you want to swap to something different?
Let's do at least one more balcony. I'll spy.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
That was the first talking low light for General. Second talking highlight. Left without talking, I think. So that's speculative. That may be undone later. That was an interesting interrupt, very early on in the cycle. No one talking in there. Maybe Danger Brother was the focus of the conversation, but I didn't see him start talking. Two talkers here. I think that was the NPC Ignore. I think she spun around after having accepted a drink just at the very end of talking. Lots of talking from this guy, probably too much. Although maybe a classic mind game. That was an interesting path from this guy. He sort of went very wide around the conversation circle, wider than he needed to, I think. Still more talking from Danger Brother. Just checking for the bug there. I'm going to normalize for that just because the ambassador seems to decide to go around very late, so it may have been the spy arriving, the ambassador not being able to predict that. Talking again at first opportunity. Let's just watch for...
I hadn't done anything.
Ready?
Yes. So I wonder if how the AI landed me really deep in the conversation. I wonder if that matters. Okay. I guess I'm not. I was thinking I would attempt a green. Okay, I'm gonna go out because anybody not doing anything for a long time is already, as aforementioned, highlight. Oh, god damn. Alright. Let's just play this. Oh, no, I guess that's not done. Oh, jeez. It's really bad. Not sure what to do now. I guess I will flirt. He's gonna see that. I think he's watching Blue Dress and me, so he's gonna... My guess is he noticed that I was talking as soon as she came into the circle. But that may just be paranoia on my part. I hadn't done anything. All right, what was the deal there?
So that was the second like slight parting thing. Your first re-entry to conversation, you kind of went fairly wide, and that time you walked further around Toby than you needed to re-enter.
Ah, okay. So just pure pathing.
I was also slightly suspicious. I didn't actually see it, but when you left conversation, it seemed like there was a slight jerky animation. So I wondered if you had perhaps not left with your arms at your sides. But I didn't actually see it,
yeah,
so I was a little suspicious of that.
Right, that's a good point. I don't think I watched for that enough.
I don't watch that at all, and I'm pretty sure Casey might be catching me on that quite a lot because I just basically walk in and out whenever I feel like it. Vary's reminding me that the highlight for you was because you were the second person to talk in the conversation circle.
Yeah, I wasn't. The double agent left the conversation. The conversation was full for just like less than a second, and I was like, and then the double agent was the one who first left, and I was like, fuck it, I'll do a flirt.
Right. Let me ask Vary if he minds me just saying what his strategy is for that in the chat.
No problem.
Okay, so Viri's strategy for these like very initial talks is that the first talker in a conversation, if it's fairly rapid, is likely to be too quick for a spy to be doing anything useful. If you're positioning yourself around the CC for the seduction, you're probably not the first person in. You're probably in quite late. And if you manage to get in quick, then being able to switch to flirt quickly and execute it first is quite rare. So the first person who talks is not very often the spy. But the second person who talks is the one who's had a chance to jump into conversation, figure out where everyone is, switch to the correct action, and then take the first available opportunity.
Ah, right. Makes
So
sense.
it's kind of, again, this is something that I'm fairly sure very caught me on for a fair while before I knew he was doing it, because it seems a very reasonable strategy. Okay, concentrate on getting in a good position in the CC. Right, I'm there. Now, concentrate on executing a green action test.
Right.
Like, not even thinking I'm always the second person to talk.
Yeah, totally. No, it's genius. It's super awesome.
Yeah, so that's really smart. And it's even with, would I be able to tell that was happening from a replay? That's probably something that you could tell from replays, right? If you watched enough, you'd see, wait, this guy who speaks first is always getting lowlighted, and this guy is always getting highlighted, and there's nothing else. And you could probably figure that out, but borderline maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you could certainly, if you knew, this is the thing, if you had the theory, you could ask the exact right question, which is, how many times did the first, second, third, whatever people who talked get highlights and or lowlights, and maybe you'd see a spike in the data at that point. But you'd already have to have a theory and know what you were looking for to even ask that question correctly.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, it's but at least one person is, Viri is able to have the theory originally because presumably he thinks of it, then tests it, then finds it.
Yeah,
works.
exactly.
So,
the level
it's something that's definitely, these things are all achievable. As
Totally.
soon as one person can do it, then technically everyone could, in theory, come up with the same thing. But
totally.
It's an interesting and very creative aspect of the game.
Well, I think that it's great that it's like kind of a little bit of a like self-awareness test in the sense of if you notice yourself doing that as spy and then go like someone else could notice this, how could they notice this? Like basically, your own biases are so invisible to you that like being able to notice your own biases is a huge thing, and that's great that it applies in this game. I really like that.
How much? I mean, maybe this is not something that you can sort of say for other people, but how much do you think your own styles influence one another? Do you tend to find that the stuff that you find difficult as spy is what you watch for as sniper, or is it sort of just two unrelated skill sets where you watch one thing for sniper, but you feel like something different is weaker in your spy game?
I think for me, like, I think they're separate. I tend to I have an over reliance on my sniper game. It's actually fading now, but it has it because I'm consciously trying to do it, trying to make it not be as important. But I have a little bit of an over reliance on like, would the AI have done that I wrote? Not looking for bugs. There's not like a secret set of anti-tells or tells in there, but more just things like, I mean, the one I told you guys about a while ago, which is the whole like, there's no bias towards closer conversation groups in the code, but there is in humans, because you just want to get into the safety of a conversation after you've done something. And so, I'll highlight for that sometimes, or as you were saying, Casey says, it's a confirmational kind of thing, or like it's just more evidence. But I think that my two games are a little too separate now, and that's why now that I'm starting to play a little bit more, and I hope to play a lot more, I hope to kind of like, to be able to have that skill of developing my own strategies. Because right now, I think for a while I'm going to be like just learning your guys' strategies, but I think that's important to developing strategies, your own strategies, just like that low light or highlight strategy of Viri's that you were just mentioning. Like you've got to be able to like have self-awareness of what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there was a thread discussing this in the forums a while back about how open should people be and continue to be with strategies like this.
Yeah, totally.
And I think it's interesting that we continue to be very open with all these ideas, and I think it makes for a more enjoyable experience. And I think part of what allows that to be the case is the idea that it's not really knowing things that is difficult about this game. And you can write down someone a list of things. It's the implementation of how do I assign my time to all of these, all these myriad of different things.
Yeah,
so
and that's why
this is one sort of unusual example in the sense that this is always something you do in the first 10 seconds. But there are many other things you can look for where they are occurring all game throughout. Leaving the conversation with arms crossed, or you can never predict the timing for that. So you can tell everyone all of the strategies for the game, and they still have to put them together somehow to make a sensible plan.
Yeah, totally, which is why the anti-tell are the bug anti-tells are so important to talk about, because they do make it into this rote thing, like Zero's thing with the plants on Veranda. It's not like, oh, I've got this cool new idea. It was even, he said this, it's like, I've got this really boring way of always winning.
Right.
And so I think the communication is super important, because you want to, like, as somebody said in the forums a long time ago, like, you want this, I think it was maybe Casey, but like, you want the communication because you want us to develop these higher and higher level strategies for now to test the game, really. I mean, it's part of being a beta tester for a player skill competitive level game, is to actually figure out what kinds of strategies, like what flavor of strategies can, is there a ceiling on this kind of strategies, right? Like, people talk about skill ceilings and stuff like that, and in this game it's more like it is a skill ceiling, but it's kind of a macro skill ceiling, not a micro skill ceiling.
Yeah, and so far we haven't really seen. I think that there are some players, I think Zero is among them, who feel that perhaps the emphasis on hardtail watching is perhaps a little strong on some of the maps. I think I'm sort of tending towards that way a little bit myself, with things like Courtyard 2, playing any 4 or 5. The statues and the ambassador are sort of both very tricky hardtail missions to get away with on that map. So that's partly why I like Balcony so much, because there is no, the bug is sort of opportunistic, but nothing else is required as a hardtail. Right. It's sort of interesting that most of my sniper game, when hardtail missions are available, is focused on hardtail missions, and the other stuff is sort of auxiliary. But it's interesting that, sort of aside from the obvious watching hardtails, it's not clear that any one main theme of strategy is dominant over any others. Pathing nets you some stuff, behavior nets you some different stuff. There's not sort of a clear, like, do this always to win. Do
you feel like the whole action test, the theory behind action tests is that it made hardtail missions more possible? Do you feel like that's a success so far? Do you think it needs to be carried further, or what?
So my guess would be that I suspect it was extremely successful initially. It's one of these changes, right? So you started off without action tests, and then people got really good at catching statue swap animations. So I suspect when it was first introduced, that sort of green action test on the swap, for example, was fairly revolutionary and fairly good at balancing. But there are just so many more hours of player time in the game now that I think that you can get away with. I think against perfect sniper play, it would be extremely difficult to get away with like a Courtyard 4 or 5. I think that's sort of very heavily sniper balanced at the moment.
Right.
And I don't think it's because. It's not because the inherent idea of green action test was initially flawed. I think it's just that you've got players who have so much more experience with it now that it's perhaps not as powerful a tool as it used to be.
Right, and that's not a bad thing. That kind of gets to the point we talked about, where all kind of the design flow in the game is from spy to sniper. Like, I'm going to have to keep buffing the spy, over and over and over again as the game evolves.
Well, I mean, eventually. Eventually you will probably have to stop in some directions, right? It's this limited attention resource will eventually prevent you from having to always add more spy tools.
Right. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Purloin guest list mission does, because Toby's moving around so much, and I was playing recently with how small to make the piece of paper, basically, on the tray, and how much you have to zoom in to see it, or at all, and how much you can glance or miss it, possibly how much of a color difference is it from the tray. Because that allows you, every time he serves a drink, it's a potential distraction for the sniper if they're camping that mission, which allows you to do another mission. And so, like, I think that'll kind of non-linearize the thing.
Yeah, it will be. So can you? Or, I don't know if you want to or not, but. Can you give like a brief overview of the mechanics of that mission, just as a refresher?
Yeah, well, it's not in yet, but here the idea is he's got a guest list, a little white square or rectangle on his tray, and while you're taking a drink, the spy can take the guest list too, and then it'll be gone from his tray. It's in the middle of all the drinks on the tray, so it's like you don't have to zoom in to see it, but like it's not immediately obvious from across an entire map as sniper whether it's gone or not, and so. The spy can also, the new thing I think is going to be, the spy can also put it back, although that's incredibly risky, and you can call Toby over. I'm thinking about one of the things is, like, I don't want to put an action test on this yet because I'm just not even sure what the aspects of it are. But I was thinking originally of putting the action test on the number of sips left on the drink that you get from him, but that seemed like, I'm not sure. So I might make it so there's only one sip left in the drink, because that way you can call him immediately back and put it back if you think you're in the clear. Because obviously it's catastrophic for the sniper if you get it back onto his tray.
Well, I can see it being used as a confirmation actually, but if they have no sort of suspect for it to begin with, then I think you're right.
If they miss it, it's a huge risk to get it back on the tray. But if you think they've missed it completely, like you don't see them going back around, or who knows, trying to remember, I don't know, it's one of those things. It's like, oh, I can see some interesting stuff here. It might be just too high of a risk. The reward is basically absolute though if they've missed the time it was gone completely.
Right. Yeah. No, it's kind of like a statue swap where you can unswap it afterwards, right?
Right, exactly. Which people have talked
that's
about.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see how powerful that is.
I think that's gonna be
in particular.
I think that's gonna be a mid-range gameplay. I don't think it's gonna work at elite levels, just because I think it's just too risky to do too hard tells, basically.
So there is no separate animation hard tell, right? It's sort of
right. It just disappears.
The paper immediately moves or disappears.
I think it's just going to disappear or fade or whatever.
Okay. And so it's sort of behavioral. It's a mix, right? Behavioral in that you are requesting drinks perhaps or drinking a lot, and hard tell in that you are taking it off the tray and or putting it back.
Right. Wodar in stream says one sip, that's a tell. Yeah, and that was another thing I was worried about. If I force the drink to only be one sip, then it's a tell that the drink disappears as soon as you take the sip. So it's like, it's hard to know. And I don't want to use the action test as a selector because, like, it's hard to get a red. It's not clear what's the best thing. It's not clear whether you want it to be green, want 3 sips or what. So it's not.
You could sort of make a modified action test in which the first 1/3 is red, the second 1/3 is white, and the last 1/3 is green. So it's essentially a choice.
Right, or I can have things.
It acts as a way of shedding suspicion, right?
Right.
Okay, if he's going to do this, is he really going to take a 5-sip drink and waste all that time before he does any more missions?
Yeah. I mean, it's not clear that's training people on the action test the right way. Like, it's kind of overloading. I don't know. Another way to do it would be put multiple things through, but scrolling's kind of a pain. So it's just not like the way the inspect statues works. These are the kinds of things that's really hard to know up front what the right thing to do is. So I think we'll just have to play it.
Yeah, I mean, multiple styles of action test has been something that players have discussed for a little while, sort of on and off, without any really serious suggestions coming forward as to exactly how they should be implemented.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think you will look at some point, or do you think it's just sort of confusing the issue? Well,
my gut instinct on that is keep one thing that people can learn really good micro on, right? I need to do some analysis. That's an easy thing to measure with metrics. Or in elite play, what is the green test percentage, right?
I would really love to know those numbers.
And those are easy.
For all bands of play, in fact.
Totally. You see some new players who come on now that a lot of people are streaming now, and they're hitting their greens constantly, and they're huge gamers, right? They're just really good with the controller. Are really so
very good micro.
They've got micro out the wazoo. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said in the forums before, if the number's 99%, then I need to nerf it a little bit. But if it's 80 or 90%, I don't think that's that bad. That's still a 1 out of 10 failure case, and it's supposed to be a little risky. So, so we'll just have to see. That's a relatively easy number to gather, though.
Right. So do you have I know you haven't computed them, or at least you haven't computed them and displayed them recently. Do you have a sort of estimate as to what, if you were to guess right now, what do you think the percentage would be on greens?
If I had to guess, so this is a complete guess because I don't know, and I don't watch as many streams as.
That's fine. It's just going to be interesting to see how it compares to
I'm guessing it's below 80%.
You mean below 80 for the top, or below 80 average?
Oh, so for the elite players, I'm guessing it's less than, but not that much less than 80%. Somewhere between 50 and 80% of greens that they want.
Yeah,
what's your guess?
That was one point I was going to bring up in a second. Actually, is that although again this is an easy number to run, you have to be a little bit careful because there are times in which you
don't want it. Exactly.
Choose the white. Yeah,
exactly. And I guess the question is, when people choose white, do they click white or do they just let it run out?
I will always click. I never let 80s run. But this is something I saw recently watching Zero stream. I saw Zero go to inspect statues, and he left the 80s And I was like, why did you leave the ATs? And he's like, because I only needed to inspect, so it didn't matter. Why take any risk at all?
Right.
For me, it's sort of a part of hardwiring myself to do those ATs is that I'm going to click whatever happens. Like I don't really have the ability to not click once I've started.
Yeah, I mean, the desire, you want to do something. I mean, it doesn't make any difference time-wise. It has no advantage, and it only adds risk. As you know, why take the risk?
Yeah. So, because it keeps me in better habit for the
Right.
interaction test.
Yeah, no,
So,
I agree.
you know,
Yeah,
once I have-
why take the risk is a rhetorical question because yeah, I think I probably click too. I just would be so worried about clicking accidentally. It's hard to
Right.
once you start thinking about it, it's hard to actually click where you want to click. So yeah, it's probably even a bigger risk.
Right. One other thing that I think is an interesting question about action tests is that the moving bar speeds up by a factor of 2, I think it is, from left end to right end. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I know that the main thing you care about really is what is the overall percentage that people are able to hit on these things. Do you have any concern about whether it's easier to hit an early action test versus a later one? Would you like those to be sort of approximately as difficult as each other, or is it really not matter at all?
Well, no, I think it matters. I tuned it so that it was hopefully approximately difficult, but that's at my skill level, right? And so who knows what the reality is? I can't remember. Let me see if I actually record enough information. I know it's a note to record that information, the extra, but let me see. Don't know where I actually do that. Yeah, I don't think I actually record. I don't think I actually record the enough information to reconstruct what shape the thing was when you did it. So that's going to have to be something that we add later.
Say again, sorry? You don't record?
I don't think I have enough info in the log of where the actual bars were on the, what kind of action test it was, basically, in terms of, was it an early one or a late one?
I thought we discussed this earlier. I thought this was something that was added.
I thought so too, but now I don't know where it is.
Oh, okay. It may be there, but not where you're looking.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it. I mean, I definitely record it. Yeah, well, I'll look for that later, but...
Okay, yeah. So Viri says in the chat that he finds the early ones much easier to hit than the later ones. And my suspicion is that most players feel the same. I feel the same, except for the really early ones. The really early ones are like a smidge below my reaction threshold. So if it's really early, the amount of time it takes me to pass and see where it is just a little bit too long to be able to click in time.
Right.
That's probably something that's sort of limited to... That's player limited. That's not necessarily human limited. But another thing that's quite interesting is that I at least think this is probably true, and I'd be interested to hear what other people think. The background that you are looking at when you perform the AT, for me, influences how easy it is to execute.
Oh, really?
Huh. Yeah, because of this semi, this translucent background.
Right.
Sort of the complexity of stuff going on behind makes it somewhat difficult. So, for example, if I'm doing an AT at the statues and someone walks behind me while I'm doing it, because there's sort of movement of character plus movement of bar,
right?
I'm way more likely to miss the action test.
Interesting. I'm going to go into practice mode and look again. I looked at that when you reported that a while ago, but I'm curious how intense it is.
Yeah, it's sort of. I suspect that there's also it's mostly a psychological component. Right? You see something else going on, and you think, oh no, it's going to be confusing for the action test, and then it is.
Yeah, because the bar itself is completely opaque. It's just the background of the shading. It's just the background of the text.
I definitely am aware that the bar itself is solid, but it's sort of like 1 pixel away is not enough to remove it from your field of vision.
Right, totally. Well, now I can't. Of course, now I'm looking at it, so I can't hit any action tests.
Yeah, well, that always happens.
All right, me spy on balcony again.
Okay, sounds good.
I lived through the last one. That's not nothing.
Yeah, that's true. You can at least retire.
Exactly. A failure.
Okay, so I'm going to highlight both those two talkers just in case, right? Because this was something we just ended up discussing. It was a sensible re-entry from Bondo. If this guy re-enters, that's going to be quite suspicious because there's not really a very good space. So I'm expecting him to go window to window, and he does. So I'm going to give him a low light for that for now, and we'll see. Early exit after early talk, so that's a little suspicious. Haven't really been paying attention to Bondo or possible bugs. That was very good pathing in. Maybe a little sharp at the end, but I tend to be a little sharp when they're coming in around the corner there. So Ambassador finally moves. Bondo's done some talking. That would be a low light if it wasn't already. This is presumably going to be a briefcase. Just baiting to see if we saw any arm movement for the bug there. It's a fairly unfortunate position. Nice character model for bugs and things. No one talking in there. Broke the silence. First movement, I think. That little twitch on the end was maybe interesting, maybe not. Let's see if this guy talks late. That was an NPC move there, right? Turned a 180 and then off to the side, I think. Also going for late window. So snaps look like he aborted. This guy's returning a briefcase very late. Good abort. Probably Bondo. Possibly going to time out. See if Bondo talks. Bondo talks.
Yeah, that was terrible. Mistake after mistake. I lived through the last one. That's not nothing.
Yeah, that's true. You can at least retire.
Exactly. A failure. That was no good. That was worth a low light right there. Or a highlight, rather. Too wide on the conversation is my guess. That was actually my turn to talk, so if I get a highlight for that, that's very sad. Speaking of green action tests, my green action test percentage is terrible, so... Whoa, he turned around really fast. Oh. Alright. I don't really have a plan here. Come back in the circle now, so selection target. Terrible. Oh, should I bug? No, I can't. Close enough. I think I've been in here too long. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I haven't taken a drink in so long. Yeah, that was terrible. Mistake after mistake.
That was mostly. It wasn't. I didn't really catch very much. It was mostly just having eliminated most other characters. It was down to you and Yellow Jacket at the end, and Yellow Jacket went for a really late briefcase.
So eliminated other people. Eliminated the rest of them due to pathing weirdness.
Yes, for the most part. So let me look through the. So this time around, I highlighted the first talkers just in case you'd gone for an early talk based on what we said last time.
Right.
Let's see. Red Tie. Red Tie was out of the conversation when it was full, but it was full and extremely evenly spaced. So I said there's no way that if this is the AI, they are very unlikely to join in one of these tiny spaces. So I'm expecting him to go window to window, and he did. So I low-lighted him for that.
Ah, good one.
Yellow Danger was a very good entry to Conversation Circle. Let's see. Snaps aborted a briefcase when Yellow Jacket picked it up, and Yellow Jacket earned the neutral light for doing the briefcase so late. So then your highlight was just for being the only person I hadn't done anything with yet. You were out late. Looked like it was going to be a re-entry for Flirt. So I said, if you re-enter and talk,
Yep.
I'm going to shoot you.
Yep.
So you
I did. Awesome.
So yeah, but I mean, it's imagine this same round, but in which you had you performed an early green BB, and that last Flirt was pushing you to 100%. It would have been if Yellow, if one other person had been sort of a little bit less unsuspicious, I suppose, then it would have been a judgment call at the end there.
Right.
So not far away from being something where there was decisions to be made.
I'm definitely at the level where I can feel when I'm pathing wrong, but don't know how to fix it yet. Like I'm like, oh, that was a little wide. I was saying on my stream.
The question I asked you earlier about how much does your spy game and sniper games, how much do they influence each other in terms of what you look for? Because I know that's something that happens for me in other arenas. I tend to focus on things that I find hard because I assume other people will find them hard. One of the things that I am actually not very good at is pathing as spy. I know academically what it is that I'm supposed to do, but I get way more caught up in other things. So there are players who are much better than me at collision handling, for example.
Right. So I wonder if everyone has that same bias.
How do you mean?
Just they look for what they think the thing that they find hard is the hardest thing in the game.
That's my comment on that is based on sort of my perspective with other competitive things that I do. It's sort of coincidental for me. It's not that the order is the other way around. I started looking at pathing because I thought it was an interesting untapped area of earning lowlights rather than being especially bad at it. It's just that I think people assume that my spy pathing is going to be really good.
Right.
But it's not.
It's more. I got to do more forum posts about the thing that I want to hide that I'm not good at.
Well, and yeah, I think it's good for me to see other people's reactions to this thing still, because then I can sort of establish.
Yeah, totally.
It was very interesting to me when I posted about this Courtyard 2 pathing bug that basically everyone ignored it for a long time, and everyone continued to play the same. Then no one fixed their pathing to include that bumping, and I was really surprised by that because I'd said, look, here's a 100% low light, and it continues to be 100% for a very long time. And now there are a few players who will very reliably bump drawn onwards pathing. Casey commented on this, and so I took a look, and yeah, drawn onwards pathing is really very solid now. Probably one of the best in the game, I think. And I think he has now acquired that pillar bump, but many players still haven't. And I am not sort of reliable about it because I know that I'm not playing people who are watching it necessarily as closely as I would.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Some things sort of disseminate immediately, and other things just don't really.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. I mean, I don't know if it's just that there's just so much information out there, and people don't feel like they need yet another thing to watch for, or.
I think that is a large part of it. It's I don't watch for all the things that I know I could, and I'm pretty sure I could get better at doing so if I put in many more hours. But there's a cap on how many hours I can play per day, and so
yeah, totally.
so you prioritize based on what's effective.
No, exactly.
That one was just particularly surprising because it was so effective. The only thing I can sort of think of is that watching pathing can be quite time consuming. You have to sort of to be able to use that pillar bump, you have to watch someone approach. It's not enough to sort of glance right as they go around. And so that costs you a couple of seconds of looking away from everything else. So maybe it's just sort of a whole mentality shift that is more expensive than just adding one little thing to your repertoire.
Right, which is okay. I mean, styles are cool, right? Like, you definitely want sniper styles as well.
Are really cool.
Do you think that, like, I mean, I wonder if it got popular to try and learn how to do that spy side. Do you think you would start highlighting, or people at least realize that that was a thing? Do you highlight people who don't ever go near the pillar?
I mean, I think for that particular case, I don't think the resolution is avoid the pillar. I think the resolution is, learn the bump. I at the moment, I don't pay particular attention to people avoiding the pillar. But people who avoid that pillar, so let's put it this way. If a spy is going to the statues, if they avoided the pillar, it would look really obvious, I think.
Even if they took the corner conversation circles as intermediaries?
So that's what I was going to get to next. So if they went to the statues directly, but they didn't go near the corner, that would be really obvious, right? Because the NPCs always hug that corner as they go in. So if the spy goes into the conversation circle, that's the only time in which NPCs will go around that pillar without being close to the corner, right? So they're going to one of the corner circles.
Right.
And they have a very distinct entry. They will walk up to the center and then take a late turn, whereas spies will tend to come in wide and head straight for their intended destination.
Right.
So that's not a reliable low light. There are AI who walk like spy when they enter those conversation circles, but there are a reasonable number of lowlights to be gained from that particular AI style path, even if they haven't gone near the pillar to get there.
Do you do a third level suspicion on someone who goes to the statue directly from the open conversation circle right next to it, so they don't have to do the pillar turn? No,
not especially. That's a lot of sort of levels of thinking, and also it's a lot of time. Unless if they're doing something else in that conversation circle, then it's efficient, and if it's not, then it's going to be very slowing.
Right.
One sort of recent pathing thing though that reminds me about that I've started to pay a lot more attention to recently is direct paths. So imagine on balcony, for example, if an AI is in conversation and they decide to walk to the windows, I don't know exactly how they decide where they're going to stand, but I know there is, it's not like there are n discrete points where they can possibly stand, and
right.
n is a relatively small number. They can distribute themselves fairly well along that boundary. So the chances of them picking exactly a point that allows them to exit from the conversation circle and walking without any turning at all, the chances of them picking that point is extremely low.
Right.
So anyone who walks directly from conversation to window gets a highlight.
Right. That's kind of the similar. That's a similar bias as the go to a nearby conversation when you're done with a statue or whatever.
You mean you wouldn't necessarily add an unnecessary turn naturally?
Yeah, or just the spy doesn't. The human spies go to the nearest conversation more often than the NPCs do, and that in that same way, you've got this people aren't used to thinking about uniformly distributed random variables in some sense. I mean, there is a bias to it, but it's not. It's much more spread out than a human would do.
Yeah, it's definitely playing odds because there are NPCs who do it. They're with some probability the NPCs take a straight path. So it's never a direct shot, but it's definitely worthy of highlights.
Right. I mean, that makes me think that I should actually bias towards closeness on the NPC side, even on things like the conversation going to the window, where you imagine a Gaussian or something that's spread out from the shortest paths to lower the chance that you would actually do it, to make it more spy-like, basically.
Yeah, that is definitely. If I was recommending this is how to make that aspect of AI more spy-like, yes, that is certainly the correct resolution. Whether or not I would recommend that it needs resolving,
right? Totally,
that's a different question.
Well, you do get grumpy. You do get grumpy when I take away your tells.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like although pathing is a productive strategy, it's not as interesting as behavioral stuff as a strategy.
Right.
And so while I dislike losing the ability to watch things, I also like the fact that I think it's a better direction for the game. As you say, when we had this discussion about should there be a delay on statue swapping or whatever, you don't really want it to be about watching where someone where does this player put their feet. You want it to be more about what is this player thinking right now?
Right.
What would be would they take this opportunity?
Right.
And pathing is not about opportunities. Pathing is about like, did this waiter accidentally stand in front of you, or like, did you think to add an unnecessary turn into your path to make sure you didn't walk straight to
Right,
the
totally.
window? It's kind of cheap stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a kind of like, I mean, as we said in those threads, like, I think there's a micro associated with it that's healthy for the game, but it's too strong right now if you choose to specialize in it.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's sort of a good thing to get stamped out, because if you don't stamp it out to a large degree before shipping, then players will realize this is an overpowered strategy
Right.
if it remains that way.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there will definitely be the week or month or however long it takes to like make the pathing more less advantageous to do a deep study of. And a huge part of that is because it's not that, like you said, it's not that interesting to camp pathing. You know what I mean? It's not a like.
No, Very just pointed out in my stream chat that the discrepancy between how you and I reported that last game. You said, you were like, oh yeah, you shot me because I made a lot of mistakes. But what I said was, I eliminated AI one by one until you were the last person standing.
Right. That's important.
Which is, and it's sort of much more satisfying to catch a mistake than it is to say, well, this person must be the spy. But it's sort of, it's not powerful enough to win by elimination every round, but it certainly gives you a good head start.
And that's what I've said about the banana bread, for example, is like, I want some deductive gameplay in there. But I don't want you to be able to grind it out to a win every time, which, like, they were talking in my chat about the multiple levels of highlight and low light, which I felt was just too deductive. Like, it allowed you to grind too much.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I never got to. I was later joining than the multiple highlight lowlights.
Ah, okay.
But it would have been very interesting to see.
Good, you would have complained.
I imagine it made quite a difference to the feel of playing sniper.
Yeah, it just feels a lot better though. It just like, I mean, it just takes away. That's why I think when the pathing bugs are more fixed, I think it'll just feel better. Yes, you'll lose something. People complained, some people complained, but even people who complained, the game felt closer to something that was more solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely can understand what you're saying, and same sort of thing with changing the bugging, right? The sort of the change the walking bug.
Right.
Your description of that was that it felt more like a spy-like bug.
Yeah, totally.
With the triggering timing.
Yeah, and there might be tuning associated with that, but having the idea that you actually have to be close when you're close, as opposed to this just completely almost random, like, I mean, not random, it's not randomized, but just feels random window when you were supposed to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so apart from pathing, are there any issues where you sort of feel like this is like one aspect of the game where I would really like to make it feel better in sort of a qualitative way without necessarily having like a plan for this X needs to be fixed?
Well, the animation system, I think, is similar to the pathing. It's not quite as many tells because it's not quite as active all the time. You spend more time in an animation than you do transitioning between animations right now. So,
Yep.
But like, things like when you exit a conversation if your arms were crossed, that's something that I could imagine leaving, but having to be so on top of timings and things like that is and I guess you could extend that a little bit to conversational like play, like who's talking when, how often they talk when you take a drink relative to talking and things like that. I want to fuzz some of that stuff out a little bit more, not to the point where it's I guess here's a way of putting it. Like, I want you to be able to notice when somebody's trying to get rid of a drink, but not notice if their drink micro is exactly perfect, right? I want enough of a window or a fuzz on that.
Right.
That there's
that seems very reasonable.
Yeah. Because again, it's about bringing it to this. I mean, I highly respect the micro stuff. So like, I do definitely think there needs to be micro and all that. I think it's almost unavoidable that there will be micro because it is just a computer and it's not going to be perfect. And so it's not going to be perfectly smooth. So there will be stuff that you notice. It's just the more that stuff is things that are. I mean, I guess the fundamental rule is, as we said before, like, it has to be learnable by the spy, which just a lot of these things are not. And it should be should be satisfying to learn it as the spy. In the same way that pathing is not incredibly satisfying as the sniper, it's not incredibly satisfying to learn how to bump against the pillar correctly, And so if both of those were a little more, I don't like using the word fun that much, but like if both of those were a little more fun to do in some sense, like then I think there'd be more successful micro there. But I definitely want the micro there for sure.
Yeah, I guess maybe if maybe the micro that we would currently sort of list as the examples you gave were definitely something that I think is not fun enough in quote marks to sort of to appeal widely. But I wonder if the threshold will be a little bit softer once there's training modes in where you can make it fun to learn like how to walk, give someone an obstacle course to walk through or something, and then compare their route to the AI route or something.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I totally want to do that kind of stuff for sure. But it has to be like just like I could do that right now, which might be an interesting thing to do. But I think that learning, I definitely think there's just an aspect of like like driving the guy around and moving the sniper around. I've spent some time on the game feel of that, like just what it feels like to click. Highlighting and low lighting is actually I would call a fun mechanic right now, right? You're click, 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 and you kind of like bringing people up and down. It just is a satisfying, crunchy kind of thing to do. And I think the low-level spy movement at the very lowest level, meaning like you move your camera, you move in the direction your camera is pointing. It's like it feels pretty good. It's just that next level up where it's like, okay, how do I move like an AI? Has some interesting parts and some not. Like turning those corners into conversations is just not that satisfying right now.
No, well, yeah, and also not easy still.
Yeah, totally. I think the ramp there is too stiff, too steep.
Right. So
okay,
if you were to,
go on. Go on. I was going to go pee at some point, but so ask your next question. Then urination will happen, and then we'll play some more.
Okay. Let me think. What was I going to ask? Oh, okay. If you were going to build training right now, what is the thing that you would? What is the first thing that you would have people be able to practice to sort of improve spy or sniper play? What is the number one thing that you think people would benefit from? In either aspects.
What I would implement first and what I think people would benefit from are not necessarily related, because what I want is practice for handling banana breads. Like I just don't do a good job when a banana bread goes off of having a holistic view of what's happening at the party, up to and including like low lights, highlights, all of the things that are happening at that moment. And so I would do that not only because I know exactly how I do it, but also because it's the thing that I kind of want to practice at. But that has nothing to do with whether I would have to talk to people to find out what other people think would be most important. And I need to watch more streams and stuff. But that's probably the thing I would do first. But I definitely don't think it's the most important thing, or by any stretch. It's just one of the things that needs to get done, and would be interesting to do, and I think it would be fun practice to do.
Yes, I think you can make quite good variety out of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like even just the banana bread clicky one. It's you could even imagine just having time trials where you're just like, it just starts up a party. You like are looking at it from the sniper. There's a banana bread, and it just tells you what you did, and like you could just do that over and over drills. And I think that would have a kind of compelling like, go work out at the gym kind of feel to it. And it would be actually good because it's so easy to do that one, and it's so easy to measure quantifiably what happened afterwards. It'd be a good template to figure out what works for practice mode and what doesn't.
The other nice thing about that is that if you are giving people fixed situations, it's something you can compare player to player. So you can tell people, you were sort of slower than this person or slower than average.
That's true. Yeah, totally.
The only thing you'll have to be, I agree, the implementation of that sounds like it will be fairly straightforward. The only thing to watch out for is if you're going into a practice session and a BB is going to happen and you're going to react to it, that's sort of somehow very different to being caught by a BB in game. So it'll be interesting to see if you can sort of take multiple practice modes and then put them all in one. And, people know they're going to practice a thing, but they don't know which thing.
I mean,
like it's a randomized practice.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but that's the same difference as that's kind of defines practice, right? Like practice is you've taken this thing in sport or anywhere, like you've taken this like tiny little piece out, and now you're going to drill on this thing, batting cages, playing ultimate frisbee versus playing catch, all kinds of things like that. And then how you react actually playing another human is just completely different, and it all falls apart. And you're like, "Why? I just spent hours practicing."
Yep.
All right,
okay,
I'm going to go pee.
Yes,
I'll be right back. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is see if I can get a piece of text scrolling on my OBS, because I think that'll be funny. Text. Going to the bathroom. All right, let's see. Can I make this scroll? How does this even work? Scroll speed, yes. Here we go. I don't even know what this means. All right, I have scrolling going to the bathroom across the top of my screen.
That's classy.
Yeah, I think that's really the way to go. I may just leave it while we're playing as an excuse. Wait, how do I change the color? Pick a color. What color should my scrolling going to the bathroom be?
Presumably yellow or brown.
Oh, yellow. Yes, yellow. We're going with yellow. Genius.
All right, I'm just gonna go grab a drink.
Okay, see you in a bit. I'm back. Are you back?
I am also back. Yes.
The yellow was so the right choice.
So I have about half an hour more.
All right.
So do you want to pack in a few games, or talk about anything in particular, or?
No, whatever you think. I mean, yeah, let's play and then talk and then whatever happens and then it'll be a half an hour and we're done. It's been
Sounds
great
good.
so far. I really
should-
appreciate it. It's great.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
Should we
do you
switch
wanna
from
play the
balcony?
map?
Yeah. What do you want to do?
Sorry?
Yeah, I was gonna say you want to switch.
I'll leave the map choice to you.
I will leave the map choice to the stream.
Okay, but I'll take Spy first. That's fine.
Okay. Zero says veranda, of course.
Are we going with first response or majority rule?
Well, Wodar got in first with Courtyard 1.
Oh man, that's brutal. Okay.
He may have been trolling. We got 2 veranda votes now. Skip the game. Varanus wants us to keep talking. So Timmy doesn't know, so he's just voting with the popular choice of veranda. JCat is voting twice, or JCat, depending on how you look at it.
Twice.
Veranda, K3, soft tells. Okay, let's do veranda. Let's do K3 hard and soft. A couple games of each on veranda. Have you played them both?
I've done I've done this once with Varanus. I think these game modes. So
Yeah.
I'm not very warmed up on these. But,
They're fun.
So which one?
They're totally fun.
So which one? Veranda and then 3-node hard or 3-node soft?
You pick, whichever.
Okay, let me think for a second.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, we're doing hard. Here we go. Memorizing statues is such a drag on this level.
Well, maybe you should just ignore them then.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'll just totally ignore the statues. According to Zero, that's the right strat. All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right, we got 2, 3, actually 3. 2, 3, 2, 2. 2, 3, 2, 2, and I'll get over there later. Man, that's a lot of people really close. 2, 3, 2, 2. And 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1. 2, 2, 3, 2. No, 2, 2. 2, 3, 2, 2. 2, 2, 3, 1. 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2. 2, 3, 2, 2. Jesus Christ. 2, 3, 2, 2. 2, 2. Man, that's a lot of good cover on the ambassador. Okay, there's no way. That would be masterful. If that was him, that was masterful. Okay. That also would be masterful. I'm paying way more attention to pathing now. Oh, Buckswaggle. You've been acting suspicious. What are you doing back there? Let's see, I don't really have a good top suspect, which is maybe good because I tend to. Is that still a Falcon? Come on, really? No, it's not. All right, so who was back there? Who was back there? Who was back there? I don't know. It was not you, though. Or was it? Or no, it might have been. Because you had moved all the way. Crap. Crap. Too many highlights. Just... You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, we're doing hard. Here we go. Memorizing statues is such a drag on this level.
Well, maybe you should just ignore them then.
Yeah, I'll just totally ignore the statues. According to Zero, that's the right strat. All right, ready?
Yeah. So I'm just trying to see where everyone is at the beginning here. You can sort of cheat and look through the veranda walls if you move your mouse fast enough. You can see through that because the transparency fades not according to mouse speed, but according to like a fixed time. So you can just have a look through and see who's on the other side. So some generals over there. Fairly heavy bias on this side at the moment. There's not really any cover to do anything. So I have a bit of time, so I'm just gonna sit and wait. Let's see. So let's start building suspicion for who else may be doing stuff. So Brim. Oh no. Okay. So Yellow Jacket. Looks like that's the bookcase over there, right? So let's think about Yellow Jacket for a frame. Watching the ambassador pretty closely. So maybe ignoring statues as suggested. Maybe noticing me not talking. I'm not really paying much attention to what I'm doing at the moment. Looks like Bondo maybe over there. So yeah, following the ambassador pretty closely. Sort of semi-baiting ambassador stuff going on over here. So yeah, let's see if we can get a swap or something done right now. I'm gonna head to the suspicious statue. It's marking a book. So that was a pretty poor action test, so I'm probably under suspicion, maybe even highlighted already. It's a book being marked, I think. I don't think there's anything exciting going on there. There's been a lot of movements side to side. Maybe he's now seen the swap. There's been a lot of movements side to side of the laser, so I'm not really confident in being able to get something done. Move like green to red or red to green very swiftly. Let's see. Let's take the briefcase. Use that as a good excuse to towards the ambassador. Yeah. Ambassador watching very closely, but I got lucky.
Yeah, I saw the statue swap, or I didn't see the swap, but I like missed the swap, and then it was really early. Yeah, I saw the statue swap, or I didn't see the swap, but I like missed the swap, and then it was really early.
I was kind of surprised. I white tested and then immediately bailed to the bookcase, and you marked my book at the bookcase. I thought, or it looked like you.
I marked you, I think.
You fake marked the book.
Let's see. No. As soon as I noticed it, I marked everybody around there on that side suspicious.
Okay.
But I had too many highlights at that point.
Yeah, that's a lot of highlights. Were the early highlights just tracking people at statues, or
bookshelves? Just like Buckswaggle was just constantly going from active place to active place and ending up near the ambassador a lot, and so I kind of a little bit Yeah, I don't know if I don't think I actually tunneled on him very much, but I definitely did lost track of where I was time wise versus how much suspicion I should have at a time. Time ad.
Right. It's difficult because there's almost no sense of time permission left anymore, right? On this map, when you're doing 3 missions, it's it can be done in 15 seconds or 4 minutes. You sort of it's a wide spread of possible pacings.
Yeah, totally. Oh, so you did do the briefcase. So that was the other thing is. Was that the briefcase thing? That that was too close. Okay, yeah, no, I didn't notice.
It was very late. Yeah,
yeah
the briefcase was basically just because I just added time and missed the action test again, so I wanted to get out of there quickly.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice the time ad.
Well, it was it wasn't. It was, I guess. Let's see, 1 minute 20 before the end. It felt like a good time in the sense that it felt like you'd probably be focusing on other things.
Right, totally.
Time ads right then.
Yep. Were you down near?
You want to avoid. Sorry.
Were you down near the red and green at the time when you did it?
No, I was standing at the very front of the map.
Okay. Yeah, I lost track of you. I had too many highlights, so it's like highlight didn't mean anything anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's always a little difficult to. That's exactly the kind of thing where if I have lots. So a strategy on this map that I like to use, for example, is just highlighting everyone who visits statues. And so that's the kind of instance where pathing is really useful. You have like a bunch of highlights, just sort of flip between them, watch them walking, and bring them back down. It's something that this is also something that's really powerful on Courtyard 2, because on Courtyard 2, you have to move a lot to see all the statues, and you have to move a lot to keep the ambassador in check. So the power of additional lowlights is really strong, because if you watch someone walk up towards the ambassador and they're a lowlight, you can just ignore that for the next 15 seconds.
Yeah. Do you how confident are you of your pathing lowlights? Is it just like 100%, like there's no way that's a spy, or you're taking a risk every time?
I treat so there's variety depending on exactly what's being what I'm lowlighting for. There are some that I will consider undoing, and there are some that I will not ever consider undoing.
How do you track that? Just memory?
Yes, vaguely. But also, I'm one of the things that I'm trying to get better at is not just completely ignoring lowlights. It's something that I think is really impressive about players who can like unlowlight people. For a long time, I played just a lowlight is a lowlight is a lowlight, and I'm never going to look at you again.
Right.
And I just, I think a more flexible strategy there is probably better. So it's something that I'm trying to work on. With the pathing stuff, again, I sort of cheat because a lot of my games are on balcony, so I can remember things because there are only 7 characters.
Right.
So yeah, on Veranda, for example, I will not be able to keep track of what my lowlights and highlights were before. And I'm sure there are players who are better than that, better than me at that in particular. So on Veranda, I'm sort of much more focused on individual actions and solid low light or highlight, and it will likely stay that way for the match.
Right. So do you how do you look at a low light that's potentially? I mean, do you just you're lucky if it's Buckswaggle because he's got a hat on, or do you have some way of they all look so similar once I've low lit them?
It will not. So it's not a case of looking at an individual low light. It's not sort of like, okay, now I will look at my low lights and I scan through them. It's a proximity thing or an opportunity thing. Like, okay, this low light is standing really close to the ambassador, so maybe I'll neutral light them and see if anything happens, and if not, maybe put them back again. It's sort of much more about opportunity. But that's really good for catching anything that's a hard tell, right? If it's near the ambassador, if you're watching a low light, you'll still see that arm move. It's still kind of obvious because I highlight the ambassador, so I can see low lights moving against ambassadors very well.
Right.
Same thing as statues. I used to sort of lose against late swaps if I'd low lighted people. Now I've tried to be much better about looking, at least noting who it is. Right, so I'll look at my low light if they're at a statue and be like, okay, this person. Then I'll go away and do other stuff. If I come back and it's swapped, then it's there's still a consideration unless I'm suspicious that it's a green.
Right, so you kind of have a couple deep buffer of you'll accept a little bit of a mid-range low light for somebody that allows them to get promoted back out. But is it based on a single in other words, you see a low light at a statue, you'll say, oh, it's danger, it's blue danger or whatever, and then go back. I assume you swap that out as soon as there's a new thing to look at.
Yeah, it's sort of There's no. It's less about keeping track of the individual characters that are low lighted, and just more about who is where. So even if danger was low lighted for being out of conversation during banana bread, for example,
Right.
I probably won't remember that. That's not what I spend a lot of time thinking about.
Yeah.
So it may have been definitive at the time, but if now it's the what's the best way to say it? The opportunity cost of maybe like accidentally paying 2 seconds attention to a low light when I could have ignored them is worth it to me in terms of not having to remember precisely what every low light was for.
Right, totally. I wonder if there will just be sniper players, that just have this crazy memory at some point when the game is, has even more playtime in it.
I think there are already players who are much better than that, better than me at that. I think Titalis is particularly good at remembering where he saw people, and I think Viri as well is very good about recalling what things are for. It's not something that I've sort of tried to get good at. So it's not really clear whether it's something I can get good at or not. But it's not something that I've done very naturally.
So when you, speaking of that, like when you decided to take on pathing, like what was your process of training for that?
So it will be interesting to see whether you can see that process in action when we have the data available. Basically, there was a patch where I lost a lot more. I would sort of speculatively low light. I would have a essentially hypothesis test, fail a lot or succeed a lot, and then incorporate. And so it was mostly a sort of there was probably a thing that I saw that triggered it. Right, there was probably one thing that I saw and I thought that is weird and reliable, and so I started to think about what else there was. But I don't now remember what the original thing was. It may just have been from playing lots of balcony, and sort of beginning to notice through lots of exposure, hey, this stuff happens frequently or completely infrequently, or so it may just have been that, because Viri popularized playing balcony, and then I played a ton, and then.
So it was Viri who did it to you in that sense. That I was wondering why you started playing it a lot before you had the appreciation for the subtleties of it.
I think it was that. I think it was that I'd got to a point where I was, before that I was, putting in many more hours per day than I do now. And I think I just played a lot on all of the sort of standard, in quote mark, maps. And so it was like, okay, I'm just going to play this for a while for a change of scenery.
Right.
And I think it was probably that. But at this stage, it's been months enough that my timeline may be completely off. I don't know.
Totally.
It's So yeah, that sort of started me looking at it, and then it was just a case of seeing how I could extend it. What's definitely true is that the usefulness of pathing varies a lot with map. Like it's really, really useful on balcony, and I personally haven't got very good at pathing on ballroom, and that's mostly because I just don't play ballroom anymore.
Right.
But it seems like the perspective on ballroom wouldn't allow you to catch things quite as easily as they would on balcony.
Yeah, that makes
You're
sense.
sort of further away from everyone, and so I think it's a little harder to see.
Do you use practice mode for this kind of stuff, or do you just play live games so that you can actually close the loop when you see the screen at the end?
One of my weaknesses as like a competitive player at anything is that I don't like practicing's sake. I really only like practicing through playing. So
right.
I will use practice mode for testing action tests or for testing bugs, but I have never sat in to watch pathing.
Right, okay. I wonder if that would change if the practice mode was richer, or if it's just a style thing. In rock climbing, I refuse to practice too. Like I'm not going to go train on the campus wall. I'm just going to climb.
Yeah, based on what I know about myself, I would suspect that it doesn't really matter how rich practice gets. It will probably always be, unless there are very specific things that I get caught for. It will be good as a feedback mechanism. Like someone tells you your pathing in like this particular case was really bad, so I'll be like, okay, I will go fix this.
Right.
But I won't really use it so much as an investigative tool, I don't think.
Right.
Also,
sense.
because a lot of it is you don't really notice discrepancy until it's. If you watch practice mode, you'll see AI doing a lot of AI things, but there's no discrepancy to measure against. There's no
right. Yeah,
that
exactly.
looks kind of weird. So I don't know how effective it would be to look at parking just in practice.
Right. Unless we started practicing via replays.
That's certainly true. Or if you if you have a hypothesis, like you saw a spy do this once, now I'm going to go and see if it happens ever again. That kind of thing it would be useful for. But as a way of identifying, I'm not sure. Without that feedback at the end of the round, as you say, I'm not sure if it's sort of feasible or not.
Here's a random question that's related, which is that you play a lot of single-player games. Do you where does practice mode become a single-player game? Like, at what point is it is it just like the addition of the fiction and the goals at the end of the thing, or how does that where do you think that breaks down?
So when you say I play a lot of single-player games, what sort of examples do you mean?
Well, I think you were playing. Were you playing Monaco single player? I thought you had mentioned single player games in the off-topic thread and stuff. And Gunpoint, didn't you?
I played Monaco. I played Monaco both. Monaco is a game that I liked enough that I played all of it. Right, so I completed both multiplayer and single player branches all the way through. Monaco is a particularly good example because the flavor of single player is very, very different to the flavor of multiplayer. Multiplayer is you can afford to be much more hectic. And so it's like a good time mode, essentially, right? You sort of buddy up with guys and run at it headlong. And single player is much more about there is one of me and many of them, so survival is the essence. So that was one of the things I thought that Monaco actually did very well, was having very different feels to each portion of the game, but with the same mechanics.
Right.
Obviously, it's a bit risky to aim for that, perhaps as a design decision, because you're sort of weakening your brand, if you like.
Right.
But so I don't know. I think as we've discussed, and I think as you've said, that SpyParty single player has lots of potential, but part of having lots of potential is that there are many, many open questions as to how to affect it.
Exactly.
At the moment, I guess I don't really have sort of good ideas as to how it's going to happen. It's sort of interesting. This is one that's going to be interesting to watch from the sidelines, I'm afraid.
Right, totally.
To see how you deal with it.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I mean, we talked about the practice modes, and you asked which one I'd do, and then as you start to add more and more of these things, it's like, does practice mode become a single player, or I've always thought it was a completely different thing. I've always thought as tutorial, practice, and campaign are just completely different things, all three.
Right, and I think that's sort of pretty standard for games in general, right? It's easy to delineate those things. I think that for SpyParty, the practice stuff for elite players will be. I think that the stuff you'll want to practice will vary with level as well.
Right.
And so in some sense, it might feel a bit like a campaign like that. Gain mastery of this level 1 skill, gain mastery of the next level skill. Not sort of restricting players to that, but presumably players will get better at the easier level stuff quicker. So I guess you could sort of formulate a mini campaign around that. From my point of view, it will sort of, with hours in already, whatever training mode goes in will be sort of interest, but probably not something that I primarily use apart from for fixing up stuff that I know I'm bad at.
Yeah, and I actually want to do the practice modes for training of elite players. I want to have it narrow enough that there are things you could like hey, it'll draw the path underneath somebody and then it'll draw yours and what you did, like you said, the obstacle course or the banana bread timing thing, like things you can drill yourself with if you want to hone that part of your skill even at the elite level, which is why I separated from tutorial, where it's like let's learn how to play the game.
Yeah. I think I mean at the very elite level there will definitely be a requirement that you spend time training, I'm sure.
Right, totally.
I still think I said this a while back on the forums. I think I said it then that we were a fair distance off the skill cap, and I still think that's probably true. I still think that the skill cap of the game is above where everyone is playing at the moment. And
hope so.
part of that. I mean, the evidence for that is that new stuff keeps happening still.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, new strategies keep appearing, and sort of new trends keep coming through the game, and sort of the play time of the top players is high for, you might say it's higher for something that is not production quality, yeah, although obviously the fundamentals are there, but it's sort of not high at all compared to what other players what players have got on other games. I have way more hours in other games not recently, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of potential there for much more exploration, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a 1,000-hour game yet, or at least no one's even close to that in terms of game play time.
Or I mean, I think it has all the ingredients it needs to be. I mean, it obviously it provides sort of the fix for competitive players. I think that the elite players at least sort of play regularly enough that it's not an issue of desire. It's just an issue of given enough weeks, they will reach whatever hour limit you want to set.
Yeah, totally.
But it'll be really interesting to see how long that continues, sort of with current mechanisms.
It will interest you and me both. All right, more games.
Okay, yeah. You spy this time?
Yeah. Do you have to leave at what? What do you have to leave at half past?
Yeah. Give me 1 minute to go and tell someone it will be 1:30, and then let's call it 1:30.
Okay.
I just want to say that I've learned a hell of a lot in the last few hours.
Me too. It's awesome. I hope to do more of these. Actually, this is like a. I think this is kind of the inaugural one of the stream show that I want to do. This is the pilot, if you will, just about how I want to learn my own game better. I need to. I don't think I'll ever be the best player in my game anymore, which is great. I mean, it's such an amazing feeling. But at the same time, I think I need to be better than I currently am to make intelligent decisions on tuning intelligent choices on tuning decisions. So getting mentoring from all the elite players is going to be totally awesome.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I'm back.
All right. Let's see. They're saying soft. All right, here we go, soft.
Okay.
Do you ever choose a spy?
As
a mathematician, I'm assuming not.
That's not true. I almost never choose a spy. The only time I choose a spy is when I play Courtyard 2. If I ahead of time think I might want to play a strategy in which I hide the statue at the end.
Ah, okay.
So if I have that in mind as an available strategy, I will tend to pick a Danger Brother or Brim for their large size.
Do you have that end game strategy in mind when you start?
Not every round, because then I'd be picking a large player every round, right? But
right.
I sort of think about what the last couple of rounds have been like against the player, and so if I've tried a green swap and they've caught it a couple of times, then maybe I'll say, okay, I'll set myself up so that I have this option available, but it still all depends on what NPCs are doing.
Sure,
if there's no cover at the statues, or if the ambassador walks up to me, then I can always change. But it's very it's much more difficult to hide the statue if you have randomly picked one of the smaller female characters. So
right.
it's just an availability thing.
Yeah, but you can't do it very often, or people will start shooting you for it.
Exactly, yeah, and it really only works on that map because it's really the only place where you have a good chance of hiding. Maybe also on Ballroom, but on Courtyard 1, for example, it doesn't matter how big your character is, you're going to be showing the statue. So
right. So actually, that gets me to this question I meant to ask you, which is when you were spy, was it last game or game before, or whichever the last game was, when you were, this is one of the first times you had played this K3 hard tells mode, you were like, okay, give me a minute. What were you thinking?
It's kind of like how the analogy is easier, I think, to see when you are sniping. It's easy to fall into the trap of accidentally watching a mission that the spy is not
right.
enabled,
yeah.
or you start marking books and memorizing statues just because it's habit. And so I was just, because this is well outside of my typical game zone, I was just formulating roughly what are the things I can get away with, what are the things I cannot do. So for example, if I was playing the soft version, I'd be thinking, okay, microfilm or books are the stuff I can waste time with and look not suspicious with.
Right.
And just sort of establishing a few bullet points like that to inform the choices I make. As it turned out, in that last round, it finished because you shot someone, but I was sort of pretty aimless. I spent the first minute or minute 20 just standing in a conversation circle looking at what everyone else was doing. So even though I'd formulated an approximate sort of list of ideas, it wasn't enough to get me going quickly enough.
Yeah, somebody in the chat actually said Checker's playing scared, which is totally true. Like I was assuming you were seconds away from finishing the entire time, and so I mean, from you would only swap the statues, right?
Yes, I swapped the statue, and basically I had identified that you were on top of the ambassador a lot. So I was thinking a lot about that, but in thinking about it, I wasn't sort of able to execute any other mission stuff while I was doing it.
Right. I mean, the right way for me to have played that is relaxed, I think, and even though I had 8 highlights, like I pretty much knew my lowlights were sound because of when the statue swap was, even though I didn't catch it, and I should have been a little more patient. I mean, Drawn Onward
Right,
talked about
right.
that in his tutorial thing the other day, which is like, you miss a statue swap, don't panic, just chill out and just take all the lowlights you can get.
Yeah, yeah, and oh well, if in doubt, be conservative with the lowlights in that stage. But yeah, it's one of the nice things about having high game counts is that people play differently against you, and
Totally.
normally they play worse. It's because they're more uptight.
So unfair.
It's like that in most things, though. There's like a runaway effect, right?
Yeah, totally. It's a positive feedback loop.
Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
So, like I say, I haven't really played this mode very much, so I don't really know what I'm what I'm going to do for strategy. So I'm going to highlight the DAs because I really want to know where they are all the time. I'm going to attempt to figure out how many times people have been at statues. So Danger Brother. So let's kill some of these guys. Probably not her. Probably not him. So no one so far has been able to execute and inspect, as far as I can tell, unless I accidentally caught someone on the right hand side. So if you're going to inspect, you have to visit statues at least twice, and you have to visit. If you're going to do twice, you have to visit the front ones, and if you're going to do 3 times, you can go back. So the only sort of risk with this strategy is if lots and lots of NPCs visit the statues, that can be kind of irritating. And so the other thing I'm going to watch out for is any time ads, because time ads allow NPCs to visit more, and so spread the suspicion a bit. That was very good pathing. One of the other things that I'll comment on now, and I'll try and slate a checker as well after the round, is that one thing that early banana breads do that can be quite powerful for people who watch pathing is that they tell you someone has taken control. So now, because I've heard the banana bread, I know I can safely perform any parting lowlights that I normally would, because Chris has to be in control of his character. Okay, so this guy, possible 2 inspects. Bondo, possible 1. I'm just going to rest my laser across these conversation circles to discourage anyone from banana breading. Just freak people out. Okay, that was very odd pathing from Bondo down. Pretty sure it was AI quality. It was excellent abort on the briefcase. Don't think anyone went down there. So what are we sitting at? This guy could have done 2. Yeah, there was a little bit of turning as he went around there. It wasn't a very clean turn, so I'm a little suspicious of this guy. That was a fairly quick talk. 1 for red dress. No time ads as far as I can see. It was a very, very short time at the window there. If I caught that correctly, maybe I'm seeing things. Let's see. So all these double agents running around is really good, because it narrows the list of suspects. Still can't tell if that was good partying. I think that was probably good partying from him. Again, only 1 DA in conversation now. It's pretty useful for me. Shedding suspicion at this stage, perhaps, but I'm going to keep the highlight just because I don't have very many, so there's no point in getting rid of information. Maybe Chris is going to time out on me. That was very awkward pathing.
All right, what gave it away? Okay, what am I doing? Let's see if we can get him to shoot somebody. I don't think we can, but... Oh, well, okay, never mind. Let's just take it.
Banana bread.
That was nice. The laser moved a lot during that, I wonder if that was panic or if that was just a lot of low lighting and he's very fast at it. I think I should not have done this opportunistic thing of going in here, though. I think that was stupid. I think I probably just got a highlight for no reason, for not a lot of gain. I'm good on my action tests today, though, or this game. Alright, this case is soft, so I don't actually need to care about having a drink, which, oh, no statue. Shit, I do. Okay, let's drink it. Okay. Yeah. What are we doing here? Okay, we need to get some specs in. This is going to be brutal. So I have a low light, or a highlight, almost certainly. The seduction charges just went into a conversation over there, so I'm going to go back over there. I'm going to totally cut right through that. It's a little bit like an AI. Oh, it's not a conversation. Crap. Alright. Oh, why did I do that instead of flirt? No, please. Ah, crap. That was terrible. I misclicked. And that's super obvious. The question is, when can I actually... He's tracking. I wonder if he's tracking seduction target as well, since I kind of just did two right next to her. I don't know. Oh, oops. I hate moving right when the thing starts up. That was bad path. Yeah. Alright, what gave it away?
So my strategy was count inspections.
Yep.
And the secondary part of that strategy is watch for time adds, because time adds allow you to add more NPC suspicion.
Right.
So I was watching for those two things mainly. What I shot for at the very end was not the last inspect, but because you tripped over someone on your way to that statue.
Yeah.
So that was the confirm. I also commented, as you walked around one of the green plants, your pathing was ever so slightly off.
In a way that you can describe, or in a way that is just intuitive at this point to you?
It's sort of it's difficult to describe. It was as you turned left, you sort of like slightly hit the plant or slightly didn't hit the plant, whichever one the NPCs don't do, and it made your walking animation play slightly differently.
Interesting.
So it wasn't the path direction at all; it was the walking animation played slightly differently.
And so when I hit the guy, when Snaps and I kind of fought for the statue, what did you see there that looked wrong?
I think, well, I'd have to watch it back to be sure that I'm not just making up what I think it is. Intuitively, as you say, it just feels wrong. I suspect, based on what happened, that you probably took an instantaneous stop and then restarted walking. You may also have turned slightly while instantaneously stopped. I'm not sure exactly. what it was. But I think that's what I was catching.
We need to download your brain into that bug thread on pathing.
I know it's tricky. Well, one comment that I made on stream that I'll make now is it's particularly important for playing against pathing players is the banana bread was particularly, it's not particularly useful information in this game mode because there's only 3 missions and you earn a few lowlights, but that's it.
Right.
The one thing that I get out of early banana breads is that I know you are in control of the player.
Right. True.
So
Very true.
I then know that I can immediately start making solid lowlights.
That's a super
for
great
pathing
point.
because
Yeah,
you
wow.
have to be in control.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's an awesome point.
Yeah, so it's not something that many people worry about because it doesn't matter against most players. But if someone's watching partnering against you, then if it's very early on, it just helps them be a little bit more confident.
Jesus, that's awesome. Yeah, totally. All right, me spy again.
Okay, sounds good.
We're gonna do soft again, just because I think that's interesting to talk about afterwards too.
Yeah, that's fine. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. 1 for Lad Jacket, 2 for green. So I'm definitely going to look out for watch checks. There's quite a few people who've been at Windows so far. I wonder if Chris is going to try and just not take control this entire round and see if he can goad me into a shot. That might be an interesting reaction to what we've just been discussing. So if that's the case, I'd expect a late banana bread. So I'm going to be very careful about watching. It's a bit of weird pathing. I'm not going to highlight for it because I wanted my highlights to stay fairly purely statue related until a little bit later on in the game. So I'm going to see if there's a very late banana bread. I'm going to try and preemptively be paying attention to the location of the double agents. So there's 2 for these guys as well. So 2 for the women that I have highlighted, and 1 for that jacket. That jacket in with the double agent. 2 agents walking around. So yeah, in this case, I'm being a little bit more careful with pathing. That was an excellent bounce, just because I don't know that Chris is necessarily in control yet. So that is what I would consider a reversible low light. It was a highlight, then it switched to a low light because of the bounce, but it could have been something that the AI was doing. No talking over here. Snaps instantly started reading, but I'm not sure if that's useful information or not. Again, the DA is being very friendly and not hanging out in conversations very long, which is great for me. Not seeing any time ads yet. Okay, so Plaid Jacket could now be finished on his inspects, and again, the women have all possibly done 2. I guess Plaid Jacket couldn't be finished yet until Plaid Jacket can't be finished because he started off at 1. So now all my highlights have possible 2 inspects. Snap's doing a briefcase at this stage is getting a little unlucky. That little spin up was a little odd, but then that pathing through in front of Toby was very good. Again, normally, if this was not the known 3 soft, I would neutral light for that pathing, but just want to keep track of my inspects right now. Consider this a little bit less suspicious than the others. So I still don't think anyone can be finished with their inspects. So I'm not too worried yet about what's going to happen. Again, I'm going to see if I get this late BB from not taking control. And even if there's... okay, so it could be finished with inspects. It's going to sit and laser burn for a while. Even if there's a late BB, unless it's someone who could finish inspect, there's no reason for me to shoot. So
Banana bread.
So not this one. This guy. This guy. So let's see. Is it only green dress in there? Still can't finish the inspects. This guy was in with a single DA for BB. Okay.
I was like, this is going to get me shot right here.
Ready?
Yep. Where are you putting me? All right, we'll take it. Okay, so how to get away with inspects on this map? I don't know what to do. What to do? I need a plan to get away with inspects. Okay, I'm gonna walk away now. There were enough people talking right then that I think that's not a big deal. It's chaos. Chaos, I tell you. Yeah, I don't know how to get away with the statues. I mean, there's the time ad that he said he was watching for, but... What to do. I'm just trying to focus on not screwing up the pathing. I'm afraid the seduction target's going to leave this conversation really fast. Oh, jeez. That was terrible. And I lost. Oh, man. Just brutal in all possible ways. Oh, man. You start focusing on the pathing too much, and it's just really bad. And that's bad because of the pickup. Ugh, man. It's all falling apart. I mean, not that it was together in the first place. Okay. Put it down. Put it down. Please put it down. Thank you. Okay. How is this going to work? I think it's brutal at this point. It's going to start. I think I have a highlight at this point. Oh, man. 10x games. Sucks. At least I like losing. What to do, what to do. Everybody who's watching is on this end of the map. That sucks. Where'd the seduction target go?
In the end of red.
Well, hopefully that sent him. This is going to give me a shot. Yep. I was like, this is going to get me shot right here. Oh,
You were the only person who could have inspected all three, I think.
Ugh. I wasn't even there for very long. Ugh. So wait, were there no was I at the front for too long? I had to wait for Plaid Jacket to leave to get his statue. I was bad timing on my part.
I didn't pay particular attention because I had what I took away from your visit was that you had inspected two statues. I wasn't really paying. I was then spreading attention elsewhere rather than counting cycles.
Right. So was I the only person who went to the front statues and the back statues, or how do you know that I was the only person who could have done it?
So there were two people who went to front and back, and unfortunately for you, the other one was Plaid Jacket.
Oh,
And,
jeez.
So he went to the back one first, but then when he went to the front one, he left before he would have had time to inspect both.
God damn.
Because you picked up the second.
That sucked.
So you were literally the only person who had time to inspect all three.
He plaid jacket.
I was a little bit. I speculated at the beginning of the round that you might not take control and then be late. So I was sort of not entirely convinced I was going to shoot you. I noted that you were the only person in conversation who was already a suspect with the DA, but I didn't immediately shoot because I was a little worried you might be trying to just goad me into a shot. But then when I saw you arrived at statue, that was enough.
Yeah, I actually, I think this was the game. Let me see. Yeah, I was actually thinking about trying to do the not necessarily with the late banana bread, but just to make you nervous, try and play it cool. But like the I think what happened? I can't. Somebody showed up in the conversation, or maybe that was last game. I can't. It's all blurring together. I can't remember. But the thought crossed my mind, but I just don't think I have the skill relative to you to actually frame somebody. Is the problem?
You mean you thought about this early on?
Yeah, I thought because of the way the beginning game played out, it was either this game or the previous game, I don't remember now. But and I even said it on stream, but then I was like, I chickened out because I just don't think. I mean, the situation looked okay for it at the beginning, and then kind of fell apart, and I didn't take it. And then I just don't think I have the skill to do it against you in general, unless it was like perfectly set up.
Right. I mean, the issue here is that the inspector sort of the controlling factor. And that eliminates just so many NPCs. And so your only real options for hiding anything from that is to hope for NPCs to be busy. Or you can also try throwing your ST out of conversation a lot and see if they end up with statues a lot.
Right. True.
Hang on a second. I need to say something.
Oh yeah, you're 2 minutes late.
Yeah, we had plans to go swimming, but right now there's a monsoon rolling in, so we're not going to be going swimming. So we can play another couple rounds if you like.
Okay, let's do 2 more.
Sorry?
Yeah, let's do 2 more. I'm going to keep playing this mode unless so. I wonder. I mean, do you think I need to make it inspect 2 on this map, or like? I mean, that just seems insane. Or do I need to double up the back, and then it's just insanity?
Well, you can. So doubling up the back is a bad idea. I think that's way too many statues.
Yeah.
You can see how many highlights I had. These are all the highlights that I took this round were only from statue visits up until the very end.
Right.
So I think there were probably 6 people who had double inspected. I would consider this a great example of where if I was in control of the data, I would look at this data and see how many NPCs could have done in the inspects in the average rounds, because it feels to me like these last 2 rounds were probably a bit lower than average in statue activity.
Right, that makes sense.
One of the questions actually that I asked other people who've played this round a bit more since the change to Veranda, although you can just definitively answer, so this will be better. Is when you added the statues, does that correspondingly make it more likely that they will go to statues? Or is the probability of ending up at statues the same?
I think the probability of ending up at the statues is the same, and the effect, the randomization is just across the area once that's chosen. I don't think the number of statues matters. I'd have to double check that for sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so it felt that way to me. It felt like it wasn't like a market increase in the number of visits per round.
Yeah.
If I disappear, by the way, it's probably because of the lightning striking nearby.
Oh, excellent. Hopefully you'll just disappear from the internet, not like completely.
Well, yes, yeah. Although for the purposes of the stream, it will be identical. So.
Yes. And more dramatic in one way, I guess. If
Yeah. Well, now I've said it. Yeah. Now I can just go and get a coffee, and it will look like a
exactly.
So that's pretty cool.
You could be one of those people who just pretends to disappear off the internet and die.
Yeah.
But that would be sad, because then I wouldn't be able to learn more stuff about my game from you.
That is true. That's true. So you want? How about I try a round at the Soft Talus Spire?
Okay. Yeah, Varanus is saying I've thought about Courtyard 1 has increased statue probability, which I really don't like as a design thing in general. But I wonder if that would be a thing that, like you said, gathering some data and then deciding. But it could be something interesting to do to that map. if it's too deductive, if inspect is just too deductive.
Yeah, I mean, you also, I wouldn't necessarily worry about balancing the 3 known variety missions. Although it's not really, it's not clear whether you should be able to balance multiple different mission configurations per map.
Well, but there is an aspect of it, which is when I enabled K3 on there, everyone, all the elite players were like, oh, hard will be interesting, but soft will never work because of the inspects. Right? I mean, people just knew that just instantly, and so that indicates it's unbalanced in other ways as well.
Yeah, but it's not inherently the inspect that is unbalanced, right? It's only the inspect is only unbalanced because you can afford it all of your attention.
Right, totally, exactly.
So I don't know if varying probabilities based on mission selection is feasible, but it would be fairly confusing.
Yeah, that way lies madness, I think.
Yeah,
for a skill-based game.
Too much tuning.
Yep. Here we go.
Yep, I'm ready.
What am I actually looking for here? Statue visits. Let's test the statue visit theory. Let's see what it gets us. It's going to give us a lot of highlights. I wonder if he thinks. I don't think he can do that. So the problem with this is that I got to keep track of who's been there twice. That was a quick talk, but that was a quick talk, but there were only 2 people in the conversation, so. Volkswagen wasn't he at that statue before, though? It was weird. That was multiple collisions for Volkswagen. This is the second visit Yellow Danger's made to the statue, to the bookshelf. I wonder if he's trying to get rid of suspicion. Yeah, the skill gap thing is just very intense. Okay, let's see. Whoa, that was a crazy path. Alright, I need to start low-lighting people. So, that was a lot of time for Buckswaggle with the thing. Let's see what Yellow Danger does. She's been to a lot of statues too. Could she have possibly flirted by now? Alright, I'm just gonna miss. Oh, interesting. Okay, I don't think that was. I think that was a luck thing. He ended up on the pad.
And in the red.
Alright, so it's not her. I don't know. That was a good time to banana bread. Don't. I don't think he's done flirting yet, though. Alright, maybe next person goes a step. I wonder if he's Who's been to the statues twice? Oh, she's got a low light. I think, yeah, it's got to be Yellow Danger, doesn't it? I think so, but I don't know. I don't think it has to be. My ability to talk while playing decreases from its already crappy level the harder core the player I'm playing. It's going to be really bad when it's not actually one of my lowlights. There's no way he would go 3 times. Like, there's just no way. He deserves to win and save the world if he would go 3 times. He's going to be so proud of that lowlight if it's him. Okay. I'm going to see if Yellow Danger now moves based on... Nice cough.
Thanks. It's my favorite taunt. I'm picking a spy deliberately to be someone who is fairly dark. Yep, I'm ready. Okay, so Orange Dress has done 1. This is a great example of just why not do some seduction, because chances that Chris is looking at the seduction right now are very low, although that was pretty awful popping. So Yellow Danger has been to the front statues as well. I'm not really paying as much attention as I would like to be. So these statue goers. So the Danger Brothers, yellow and blue. So I'm not going to Banana Bread now because I definitely don't want to be eliminating the NPCs who may have a chance to have done the statues. So why not instead of time it? So that tells me Chris is not watching super hard for the time ends because I did it right in front of him. And it was green, but still. So let's see who else is the statues. No one else at the statues yet. So I was probably not talking in that conversation, but I assume it's not something that Chris is going to be watching for. It may or may not be fair. Okay, so Brim as well has hit 1 statue now. Chris probably knows that I'm not going to do anything significant early because I want to have this option to be able to look and see what everyone else is doing. Okay, I'm going to wait and see where that seduction target is going to go and then do some following. That's good. Brim looks like he might be flirting with me, so I'm not going to think about it for a second. I'm going to join in here. I also didn't think Chris would be lowlighting things like reading books. That fear factor again. Nothing going on that side of the statues right now. So I have plenty of time still. I'm taking a book as well. Laser's fairly static, maybe trying to, I don't know. I wonder if I can get away with a cheese to reflirt here. Laser's kind of right in front of me, so I'm not particularly keen. Let's see where the seduction target goes and just follow it. Perfect. Ah, shit. I was going to Banana Bread there because Yellow Danger was in with me, but we're not so keen now. Orange Dress. Has Orange Dress been? Not sure. I don't mind eliminating because I can see the Danger Brothers are in conversation again. Yellow Danger. Ah, oh, shit. So I'm going to wait for one more person to go to statues and then I'm going to go as well. I can't see at the moment who's on the other side. It's not particularly useful. So that's eminently catchable, especially since I've walked straight to a statue. So now this is all going to be about Chris doubting himself, because I don't see that a large number of NPCs have been at statues more than once. So at some point, I'm going to have to go to statues again. And none of the NPCs, as far as I know, are going to have done that. So let's see if I can get away with doing something fast here.
Not even
no highlight
close.
for statue visits.
Yeah, I started highlighting from statue visits and like stopped by the time you. When did you first visit a statue?
Pretty late.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
basically,
after the banana bread.
yeah. Was that to avoid that strategy?
It was to. So I was trying to keep relatively good track of which NPCs had been at statues.
Yeah.
As far as I could tell, no one had been at enough.
Yellow Danger was the only one who I think, or no, actually, Orange Dress had, I think, I can't remember, but then she was out of the conversation at Banana Bread, so.
That's really funny because when I was looking to Banana Bread, I looked over and I saw Orange Dress at those statues, and I said, I don't think she's been at statues, so I'm fine to BB now.
Where did I highlight her?
And in addition, Yellow Danger was in a conversation and talking when I started, but he was out of the by the time it went off. So
I saw him. I looked. I thought he was a possible. The reason he didn't get low lit is because I couldn't tell. I didn't see when he bailed relative to the Banana Bread, and so I was like, I don't think he would banana split like that, given the conversation earlier, but I don't know.
Yeah, he was the guy I was trying to get like some elements of framing on. Although
Well,
I don't
definitely
think it was going to be perfect because I don't think he did a third inspect.
Yeah. No, he was definitely my top suspect. But I kind of like, I kind of you got your flirt done pretty early, it looks like, and who was your seduction target? Green Dress.
It wasn't actually particularly early. I got away with 2 time ads.
Oh, you did one at the
before,
beginning
one
too.
after.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, I didn't notice. Yeah, I was not.
So
talking.
I spent a lot of time doing nothing.
Yeah. Green test. Were they both green? No, white on the second one.
No, I missed the.
Yeah.
That's another case. That's another case to watch out for when running the stats. It's when you're flirting. If you don't need the green flirt for the final one, then
right.
You can hit the white more easily sometimes.
Yeah.
In this case, I happen to hit green, but
right. So the first one was a green check. I was looking at the clock occasionally. I wonder if I looked at the clock. So it would have just slowed. Yeah, I wonder if I definitely looked at the clock around 2:50 or something like that, which it's hard to tell from here when that would have been on mine versus yours. And I remember thinking, it seems like it's been a long time for it to be 2:50, but not so long because it's a 4-minute map, so it's just hard to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to gauge that when you're so used to being set up for the shorter ones.
Yeah, totally.
But your laser was kind of near me when I hit the green action tests, so I was a little worried that you might
really?
catch it.
Yeah, shit.
But I think you were probably looking at statues or CC makeup at the time.
Yeah, I think that was just a plain old you outplayed me on that one. No, not a lot of luck involved in that one. All right, again, do you want to spy again or I'll spy? I like them both, so whichever.
I don't mind. You can pick.
Okay, I'll spy. Should we do soft again?
Completely up to you.
We'll do soft again. Seems harder.
Ready?
Yep.
Two for Bombo. 1 for Orange. I wonder if I can. I'm going to try baiting someone this round. Obviously, I'm not going to know who the spy is, but I'll see if I can bait someone into And if it's a spy, it'll be great because they'll run away and inspect loads of things, and if it's not, then they won't. Maybe trying to shed suspicion, but pretty good timing on stopping. So this may be the ballsy anti-strategy. So Bondo is a particular chap to watch out for. Oh wait, that's bad habit. So Orange also going for an early inspect. So Orange and Bondo I'm going to call as people who could have been done. So that's DA joining conversation there. Quite an opportunity if someone chooses to take it. Bondo talks, but no BB. That parting from snaps. Excellent. Also excellent. Orange dress definitely could be done. Orange dress and Bondo so far. But again, very few statue visits overall. That's some interesting dancing from these two. If I'd been looking more directly, I probably would low light for it, but I didn't quite see enough. So let's see. 2 DAs in conversation. Weird. Maybe flirt. Statue visits. So now all my highlights are on 2. Oh no, wait. 2 of them can be finished. That was a little weird overturn there without walking. So I'm a little suspicious that that could be a spy. Join a conversation without double agent in. Brim taking 1 inspect. Exceptionally good path. Brim shedding some suspicion, but not late enough to be sort of definitive. This double agent's going to join this conversation. Let's see if anyone in there chooses banana bread. Where's Orange dress? Orange dress going to another statue. Maybe trying to convince me. Oh wow, okay. Talking.
Jesus.
Ready?
Yep. Okay, so now I'm highlight, and I better make the best of it, I guess. How to make the best of it? Let's just be totally obvious here, and go get this out of the way. Let's stay here a long time, just to make it totally clear that it's not us. Okay, so we need to make the best of this. We need to make this. We got plenty of time. And we need to make sure that somebody else is very suspicious. Okay, that's good. Don't chase the seduction target. Alright. I'm gonna talk. So he's gonna be looking at me for pathing things. So what's my strategy for avoiding pathing? Whoa, she just got a little late. Twice. This path seems so terrible. Okay. What to do? Oh, come back in the circle. Come on. You can do it. Where are you going? Where are you going? Yeah, this is grim. I'm not making enough progress on my flirts to not really have much suspicion, so I'm not sure. Now I'm chasing him. That's great. Okay, play cool. Where's she going? Where are you going? Come in here. Yes! Alright, this is grim.
And in the red.
I'm gonna get shot. Yep. Jesus.
That was the alternative strategy, right? Go early and then idle for neutral light or something.
Well, I mean, I got plopped by the AI at the statue, and so I was like, all right, I might as well just get all of these statues done now. And I mean, I've got a highlight anyway, so I might as well just do it.
Interestingly, Orange Dress chose the exact same strategy.
Ah, damn. She did
But
not...
she continued with the rest of the round. She must have visited statues 4 or 5 times, I think.
Whoa. Yeah, I
So
screwed up the
did wonder
flirt.
if maybe you were trying to throw me off completely, but she was out for the last BB.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, I didn't have much. I didn't feel like I had a lot of choice in the last BB. Maybe I guess I did it at a minute left. I could have just waited even longer. I don't know. Do you think waiting longer
You
would
were
have been
already top suspect. Only you and the Orange Dress could have inspected by that point. And when you left the window previously, your animation didn't spin up immediately. It almost looked like you caught the back of someone as they walked past or something. So I was prepared to shoot you as soon as the BB went off if no one else had been to statues.
Yeah, I think I did actually run into somebody and did a little slide to the side there when I came away from the window. Yeah. I tried to just keep pushing forward so that it just didn't do anything, but maybe it's hard.
Yeah, unfortunately, and that's if you run into someone pushing forward. Makes no difference as far as I can tell. I think you need to sort of immediately push left or right, but it's just ridiculously difficult to do.
Oh, really? Okay.
Real time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that I just consider not emulatable at the moment.
Right. Bummer. So, I mean, the right thing to do, given that, if I realize that, is to wait until people are clear of where I'm going to walk, I guess.
Yes, which on this map is viable, but that also starts to become a noticeable strategy on balcony. If you notice people wait until stuff settles down before they move.
Right, true.
You can that's something you can see happen when someone decides to play like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So what do you got? How many more games you got in you? One? Any?
Yeah, let's do one final game.
All right. You pick.
Okay.
What's the most pedagogical game mode role map for me?
I was going to go for Showboat, but we can go for learning experience as well.
Oh, you were going to show off by kicking my ass in some totally brutal way?
I was going to try a 5 known on Courtyard 2.
You want to try it?
I'll try it and
sure.
see how it goes.
Okay. I've been drinking too much water, so I have to go to the bathroom again. So this will make it an added level of
tension to the proceedings. Yeah.
Physical component. All right, let's see. What are we doing here? So, everything on Courtyard 2. Oh, geez. Okay, here we go. All right, 1, 2. 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3. And I think he was next to the ambassador. Not exactly sure. 1, 2, 1, 3. Man, that's a crazy path she took into that conversation. Ugh. Broken. That was a weird adjust there. There was the bump, I think. He's been there a long time. Talked right when he got into the conversation. Right next to her. Let's remember that she's a potential seduction target. 1, 2, 1, 3. He didn't swap though. That was really tight pathing.
And in the red.
Okay, no one out. Thanks a lot. Let's assume because he's got a lot of stuff to do that it was real. Let's do that. That's a little deductivity I'm going to go with here. Let's assume that was real. And so no one else could be it. So, for the time add, 2, 1, 3. Ah, crap. All right. Did he swap it? Okay.
Okay, so I want to think about who I'm going to pick. Again, I'm going to go with that large character strategy.
All right. Let's see. What are we doing here? So, everything on Courtyard 2. Oh, geez. Okay. Here we go.
Let's see. Seduction target is settled down. Why not, eh? Why not take some more time? Because I'm going to need some time to get stuff done. Flooding going on. Be dangerous statues. I guess I could have played this without taking control and see if I could go the shot at the very end. But lost opportunity now. And the ambassador joins nice and close. Going to talk. Not going to run because I don't want to look like I'm scared. I am now going to follow. And full on selection. There we go. Go around the conversation. I was thinking I might loop back into the conversation there, but the laser started to move just as I was thinking about it, so I decided to bail properly. Okay, so Ambassador's stuck in that little statue gap now. So I'm gonna see if Chris watches the Ambassador or keeps moving and leaves the statues on that side for a little bit. He'll tell me whether he's gonna give me an opportunity to bug easily. Dangers Dangers left conversation. Seduction target came back, it's really nice.
And in the red.
Okay. So Blue Danger is in conversation and talking next to Double Agent. So let's see what happens. Ambassador's dive back into those statues again. So still not paying super close attention to that. Oh dear, that was horrible. Okay, so green. So what I need now is the Ambassador. Oh shit. Nice little spin. I don't think Chris saw it, somehow. So So now I'm going to see where the laser goes, and then I'm going to try and make sure I'm hidden. Maybe the ambassador's picked up a statue or something. It's taking a long time to transition. Now the countdown's on. Running away, running away. Following the laser, because this looks like he's running in one direction.
Nice work. What did I screw up here? So it was a green swap, right?
Yes, it was a green swap.
I caught the green swap.
So it looks like my highlight was just for visiting the statues.
No, I decided that the banana bread, because it was all 5, I decided the banana bread was real, and so I decided to do the newbie thing of like low light. Well, at least highlight everybody in the conversation with the suspects. You lucked out because the suspected double agents had pretty good crowding around them.
Okay, I was actually so a Blue Danger brother was with me in that conversation, and I was assuming he had a highlight from the statue visit earlier, so I was hoping that he would be sort of the focus.
He sat there forever, but it didn't swap, so I was like, I don't know if he would take the time, that much time. He got a highlight for it, though.
Okay, very early on.
Yeah, he was there for a very long time. Oh, you did add time, actually. Nice work.
Yeah, the statue swap seemed to take a long time to trigger. It wasn't clear. It took almost 30 seconds to trigger, so I wasn't sure if someone else had visited before the swapper.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't notice. I did notice. I just noticed when he was holding it and didn't have enough to. I mean, I didn't know. I couldn't remember who was there before, so.
Right.
And maybe that's partly helped by the amount of time.
That seemed to be like a moderate activity statue round. It wasn't like no one else. It wasn't like a ton of NPCs went either. I it's kind of lucky if Brim picks up to swap the statue, then he does sort of the hiding job of the animation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that's kind of lucky.
Yeah, I only saw him holding it the wrong statue, so I didn't even see the animation happen. But I didn't shoot him because I assumed maybe a green swap. Nice work.
Right, yeah.
Showboating success.
I was hoping to be able to time the swap so that you wouldn't see me there, but you were very active with the laser, even when the ambassador was nestled in the other side of the statues. Yeah, I was trying to use that as a good opportunity to keep you stuck on one side.
Did you bug at the statues?
I bugged in a hilariously bad fashion. I was walking into a conversation, and I initiated the walking bug, and the ambassador left as I arrived, and I inadvertently spun around and placed the bug, and then kept walking.
Oh, jeez.
So the intent was good, but the ambassador sort of complicated things a bit.
Right. Well, I was nowhere near it. I had stopped watching the ambassador for a while before that. Sadly, camping only works if you're going to actually do it the whole time.
Yes, that is fair.
I was not actually trying to camp anything at all the entire time. I don't usually like doing that. It's not as much fun anyway. But I certainly was not paying much attention to the ambassador by that point. So nice work.
But you it looked like you were early on as far as
I think I was. Well, I think I highlighted. Oh, actually, that's why I highlight Blue Danger because the statue time and the ambassador, and he did a little dance at the beginning.
Right.
But okay, behind the statue, behind the pedestal, or the statue, so I couldn't actually, or the pedestal, so I couldn't actually see what happened.
I see. Yeah, there were two. I think I may have 360'd twice that round. That was a great example of me saying my pathing is not ideal.
Right.
There was certainly a few missteps there. But yeah.
Awesome. That was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
This would be
thank you for answering all of the questions and
of course.
And for both here and in forums and things. And
yeah.
I look forward very much to seeing future iterations of Checker versus other players.
Yeah, totally.
On the stream.
And including you. Again, I'm sure I have way more knowledge to learn, to acquire. And thank you for your first year of service.
Yeah, I hope I've performed satisfactorily.
Indeed, I look forward to your second year of service.
Me too.
Yes, awesome. Thanks so much, and make sure you save your stream, and that way people can watch both sides if they
certainly will do. I'll see if I can stick together the two pieces for YouTube or something, rather than have it separated.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's going to be like I can get you if you post in the forums or send me PM, I can get you the links to download it, and we can stitch it together. I mean, what would be totally awesome is someone knit together the games with all the talking, which was not during games, so that you didn't have to watch actually 2x the entire thing. You could just watch both the games at the same time, and then maybe we'll talk to someone who has video skills in the forums about it.
Yeah, that sounds smart.
All right, so I'm going to end the stream. Thanks a ton. That was awesome.
Yeah, and thank you to all watchers for coming
Yes.
along and spending hours with us.
Indeed. Thanks so much. Okay, bye-bye.